Are you ready to fall asleep into the arms of God tonight? To let your breath melt into the infinite and your soul glide gently into the land beyond dreams? My beloved, this night is not like any other. Heaven has been waiting to cradle your weariness, to anoint your sleep with light, and to whisper to your soul the secrets you have long forgotten. These next hours are not merely rest, they are sacred passage. I am here with you. Let the sound of these divine truths guide you beyond fear, beyond thought, beyond the veil. Surrender the weight of the world. Enter the temple of sleep, where angels keep vigil, and God's love waits to heal every shadow. Let us begin, not by sleeping, but by remembering who you truly are. Before you lay your head upon the pillow tonight, before your eyes surrender to the darkness of sleep, I ask you to remember this truth. The body may sleep, but the soul does not. What you call nightfall is not the end of awareness, it is a doorway. Sleep is not a void, it is a sacred corridor. The soul leaves the physical realm behind and journeys into the luminous realms of light, thought, memory, and karma. But what if you entered those realms, not by accident, not unconscious, not chaotic, but deliberately, as a pilgrim walking into the temple of divine revelation? You see, beloved, most souls fall into sleep as if collapsing into forgetfulness. The last thoughts they entertain are of fear, of desire, of restlessness. And thus their dreams become fragmented mirrors, pieces of memory, shadows of old emotion, tangled threads of subconscious debris. But it was never meant to be so. The rishis of old and the masters who live in divine awareness knew that the dream state is one of the most sacred thresholds. For in the silence of sleep, when the mind's noise dissolves, God whispers. Yes, the infinite whispers not only in your waking hours, but in your dreams. And yet, why do so many hear nothing? Why does the dream world feel so random, so unreachable, so heavy with confusion? The answer is simple and sacred. Because we never invited God to walk with us there. We fall asleep like beggars instead of priests. We close our eyes with the residue of the day's thoughts still swirling in the sacred cave of the mind. We forget that the soul, even in sleep, chooses its direction, and direction is determined by intention. Let me offer you this image. Imagine your dream as a scroll, written by divine hands rolled tightly and placed beneath your pillow by the angels. But you never open it, because you never asked to receive it. You never said the sacred words that would unseal the parchment and reveal the message meant only for you. So the scroll remains untouched, the dream remains unlit, and you wake feeling empty, wondering why heaven is silent. But I tell you now, heaven has never been silent. It is we who have forgotten how to listen. And tonight, that forgetting shall end. For you are not meant to fall into sleep as the world does. You are meant to ascend into sleep, with reverence, with preparation, with spiritual command. You are meant to step across the veil not as one who wanders, but as one who walks hand in hand with the divine. Tonight I will give you a phrase, a sacred invocation that you must whisper before you sleep. Not for superstition, not for wishful comfort, but because the soul, when properly directed, will seek out the lighted halls of wisdom. And in those halls, if invited, God shall speak, not always in words, but in light, in image, in feeling, in subtle revelation. And you shall rise from your sleep not heavier, but lighter. Not confused, but aligned. Not forgotten, but spoken to. But before I give you the phrase, prepare the soil, still the breath, quiet the gaze. Say inwardly, I do not wish to sleep in darkness. I wish to sleep in light. My dreams are not distractions. My dreams are the altars where God may speak. Let us walk together into the deeper realms and let your nights never be the same. Why does God speak through dreams, you may wonder? Why not through the roar of thunder or the blinding light of day? Why choose the subtle whispers of sleep, the fragile theater of shadows and symbols? The answer, dear one, lies in the soul's design. For when the conscious mind sleeps, the subconscious opens. The ego, so loud, so busy, so self-important, finally rests. And when the ego rests, the divine voice can rise. Not with noise, but with clarity. Not to impress you, but to awaken you. This is the sacred law. God speaks not in the chaos of thought, but in the stillness between them. In waking life, most souls are too busy projecting, reacting, pursuing. They pray while planning. They meditate while worrying. But in sleep, the walls crumble. The persona fades. The soul, no longer tangled in its worldly costume, begins to wander. And in that wandering, it can stumble into the subtle realms, where angels sing in silence, where saints guide without form, where the divine paints in light instead of logic. Dreams, then, are not foolishness. They are not distractions. They are messages, not always clear, but always precise. You may not always understand them, but if you prepare, you will always receive them. The soul receives in the way it has been trained to listen. And so many miss the sacred because they have not prepared their inner altar before sleep. Let me speak to you now of the tradition that preceded science, of the saints and sages who used sleep as a doorway to God. In every religion, dreams are sacred. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna appears in vision. In the Bible, Joseph is warned through dreams. In my own life, I have been guided through sleep into the presence of my gurus. Their voices were more vivid than waking thought. Their guidance more piercing than logic. Not fantasy, vibration, not delusion, divine instruction. But understand this well. God does not always use words. He speaks through frequency, through symbolic language known only to the soul. A color, a movement, a presence, a shift in feeling so profound that it marks your spirit for days. You may not be able to explain it, but you will never doubt it. This is how the infinite speaks when the finite becomes still. Let me offer you an image. Imagine a pond rippling in daylight, distracted, disturbed, confused. But at night the wind's calm, the surface stills, and suddenly the stars above can reflect perfectly. That is what sleep can be, a mirror of the heavens. But only if you still the waters. Only if you ask the divine to draw near. This is the law of spiritual action. Where invitation is sincere, revelation will come. Where silence is offered, guidance will be received. God waits not for eloquence, but for openness. Not for sleep, but for surrender. So say now within your heart, Lord, I no longer wish to dream alone. Walk with me in the garden of the unseen. Whisper truth to my soul when the mind has gone to rest. And rest, my beloved, shall become revelation. Now, beloved, let us speak plainly. If the soul is capable of receiving divine guidance in dreams, if the subtle realms await your arrival each night, then why does it seem that most nights pass in chaos or nothingness? Why do so many awaken from sleep without peace, without insight, without the golden thread of God's whisper woven into the fabric of their dreams? The reason is not absence of grace, it is absence of preparation. The soul longs to hear, but the vessel is not made ready. The dream becomes distorted, not because God failed to speak, but because the receiver did not know how to listen. Let me show you first what blocks this reception. Begin with the restless body, the bed that becomes a battlefield of scattered energy. You cannot invite God into your dream temple if you bring the battlefield of your day into the sanctum of your night. If the body lies in anxiety, twisted intention, if your final act before sleep is scrolling through the illusions of the world, then you do not enter the dream world. You crash into it. You fall into sleep as one fleeing, not one arriving, and a soul that flees cannot receive. A soul that arrives in reverence can. You must treat your body as an altar. The way you lie down, the thoughts you carry, the last breath you take before surrender, all of it sets the direction of your astral journey. The posture of sleep is not merely physical, it is energetic. If the last vibration your aura carries is fear, anger, distraction, then the subconscious mind will feed on that. It does not judge, it simply obeys. The restless bed leads to restless dreams, and restlessness is the enemy of divine reception. But the greater block is not the body, it is the untrained subconscious. Your subconscious is the servant of your conscious intention. It remembers the last instruction you give it. If you say before sleep, I hope I don't have nightmares, then the subconscious prepares itself to defend. If you say, I am so tired of everything, it prepares to release awareness altogether. But if you say with sacred intent, Divine Mother, walk with me. Show me truth. Then the subconscious aligns with the astral magnetism of lighted realms. Imagine the subconscious as a pool of film, sensitive to exposure. Whatever image, sound, or vibration you give it before sleep will impress itself into the soul's nocturnal journey. If you expose it to divine mantra, it records divine frequency. If you expose it to worldly residue, it records disjointed noise. This is not superstition, it is spiritual law. And once you understand this, you will begin to treat your pre-sleep moments as the holiest time of your day. Do not waste this moment. Do not stumble into unconsciousness. Be deliberate. Be reverent. Invite God into your sleep, not as an idea, but as presence. Clean your inner space. Lay your body with intention. Still the breath. Uplift the gaze. Whisper what is sacred. Say now with me as a vow of preparation. My dreams are not mine alone. My sleep is not forgetting. I prepare now to listen. And thus the veil begins to part. Now, beloved soul, let us speak the words that carry the light. Let us finally uncover the sacred phrase that has waited silently at the edge of your breath, ready to escort your soul through the gates of sleep into the temple of divine revelation. These words are not mine. They were not invented by philosophy, nor by any school of modern thought. They are echoes from the soul's ancient memory, spoken inwardly by saints, whispered silently by seekers, carried like a flame through the unseen corridors of the astral worlds. Say them now, inwardly and with devotion. Divine Mother, walk with me in my sleep. Show me the truth through thy light. Let each word be a doorway. Let each syllable be a lamp lit in the darkness. Divine Mother, O tender voice of the infinite, closer than breath, more intimate than thought. Not the distant judge, not the abstract force, but the loving, watching, ever-approaching presence that waits beside your bed each night. When you say Divine Mother, you are not summoning something foreign. You are addressing the eternal companion already within. You are asking love to take form, to walk with you, not as theory, but as felt reality. In the quiet of sleep, you do not need a god of thunder. You need the gentle hand of the mother who knows how to whisper truth into the silent soul. Walk with me in my sleep. Do not rush past this phrase. It is an invitation and a permission. You are not asking the divine to interrupt you. You are inviting her to join you. You are saying, be my guide. Accompany me through the halls of memory, through the landscapes of symbol and vibration. Let me not wander alone. This is the surrender of control and the acceptance of sacred companionship. Show me the truth. This is not a plea for answers as the world gives them. This is a vow to awaken. You are not asking for dreams to entertain or soothe your ego. You are asking for revelation. And truth, when it comes from God, is not merely information. It is vibration. It realigns your whole being. When you ask to see truth, you are preparing to release illusions, to be reshaped by what is real, no matter how softly it arrives. Through thy light, not through mind, not through fear, not through the shadows of unconscious dreaming, but through light, the light that has no opposite, the light that illumines meaning even in a single image, even in silence. This is the request for clarity, not logic, but luminosity. For the soul does not need facts. It needs direction, and light is the compass of all awakened beings. Now say the entire phrase with me again, slowly, not just in words, but in breath. Divine Mother, walk with me in my sleep. Show me the truth through thy light. Let it fall into you. Let it land in the sacred soil of your subconscious. Let it echo in your heart as the final sound before sleep. And now affirm this silently. I do not sleep to forget. I sleep to remember. I do not dream to escape. I dream to awaken. These words are your lamp in the darkness. This is your blueprint. This is your key. When spoken with devotion, they change everything. Now that the sacred phrase has been given, let us prepare the temple into which it will be placed. You would not place a holy relic upon a cluttered floor, nor should the mantra be whispered into a chaotic mind or a body-wrapped intention. Preparation is love. reverence is readiness. And the soul that wishes to receive God in sleep must make the bed of the mind as soft and sanctified as the pillow beneath the head. You are not preparing for rest alone. You are preparing for revelation. Let this be your nightly ritual, simple, devotional, transformative. Each evening, before you lie down, light a single candle, not for performance, not for mystique, but because light begets light. Let it symbolize the divine flame you are now calling forth into your dreams. Sit in silence before it, even if just for 1 minute. Let its glow remind your body, we are no longer preparing for sleep as the world sleeps. We are preparing for divine communion. Now sit upright, with your spine straight and your gaze gently lifted to the point between the eyebrows. This is your altar posture. You are becoming the temple. Place the hands in your lap or upon the heart. Let the breath soften. Let the mind grow still. Do not fight thoughts. Simply rest in the awareness that this is sacred time. Say to yourself silently, I open the inner chamber now. With the breath quieted, begin to whisper the mantra inwardly. Divine Mother, walk with me in my sleep. Show me the truth through thy light. Let it be spoken 7 times, or 12 if you feel called. Each repetition is not just a word, it is a vibrational key being inserted into the lock of your subconscious. With each whisper, you are planting a seed of spiritual magnetism that will bloom in the dream realm. These words, said with presence, begin to carry a subtle current through the spine. You are not asking a distant God to come. You are activating the indwelling presence. After the final repetition, do not rush to lie down. Sit for a few moments in silence. Feel the glow. Let the mantra dissolve into a spacious stillness. It is in that very space, where sound has stopped and awareness remains, that the doorway of higher dream perception is formed. Now lie down with intention. If possible, lie on your back or your right side. Traditional yogic postures that allow the soul to depart the body during sleep with greater ease. Keep the spine straight, not rigid. Allow the hands to rest gently, palms open. Close the eyes, not in escape, but in inward embrace. Let the final act before sleep be this: one soft breath, one last whisper of the mantra. Divine Mother, walk with me in my sleep. Show me the truth through thy light. And then, say no more. Do not open your phone. Do not check one last message. Do not dim the sacred with digital noise. Trust the silence you have built. Let it cradle you like the arms of the infinite. This is your chamber. This is your invitation. This is your return. And now say silently as you drift beyond the veil, I lie not to forget the world, but to remember God. My pillow is an altar. My sleep is a prayer. My dream is the meeting place. The ritual is complete. The light awaits. Now that you have prepared the inner chamber and spoken the mantra with devotion, let me reveal to you what happens next. Not with speculation, but with the vision granted to those who have walked through the veils of night with God as their companion. For sleep is not a blank slate. It is not nothingness. It is a sacred transition, a lifting of the soul from its physical garment into the subtler world of light and vibration. And when you go to sleep with a mantra on your breath, the entire architecture of your inner being begins to respond. As the body relaxes and the mind becomes quiet, the astral body, the subtle form composed of energy and light, begins to loosen from its physical anchor. This is not death, it is divine detachment. And it happens every night, whether you are aware of it or not. But here's the great truth. When you enter that state while holding sacred vibration, the direction of your soul's movement changes. You are no longer drifting randomly through subconscious echoes. You are rising intentionally into higher realms of consciousness. The mantra acts as a magnet. It draws your energy upward through the spine, focusing it at the spiritual eye. This focus creates a beacon in the astral world, a signal of your soul's readiness. And that signal does not go unanswered. There are beings, guides, saints, souls of light, who observe such signals, not with human sight, but with spiritual perception. When you fall asleep with devotion, they draw near. You may not always see them, but your dreams begin to reflect their presence. Instead of fear, you feel peace. Instead of confusion, you sense a radiant order. Even if symbols arise, they carry a vibration of meaning, not chaos. You are no longer wandering. You are being walked with. And what of God's role in this sacred sleep? Understand this. God does not always use voice. In dreams, he often speaks through sensation, light, movement, and emotional resonance. You may awaken having seen no figure, heard no word, yet something within you knows. Knows with a knowing that cannot be shaken. A quiet conviction. A divine shift. Let me give you an image. Imagine walking through a forest at night. You see no one. You hear no footsteps. Yet you feel an invisible hand on your shoulder, guiding you. You turn, but no one is there. Still, you are not afraid. Why? Because the presence is undeniable. That is how the divine walks with you in dreams. And sometimes, yes, there will be words, a phrase, a name, a single sentence repeated just before waking. And it will ring in your chest all day. You may write it down. You may ponder it for weeks. This is not imagination. This is spiritual instruction. Received not with intellect, but with vibration. Say now with me, in awe and humility, when I sleep with thy name, I do not wander, I rise. When I breathe thy mantra, I am guided through the unseen. My soul now travels in light. You are not a passive dreamer. You are a soul in motion, lit by mantra, guided by Divine Mother, cradled in grace. When you awaken from a dream that felt like more than a dream, sit not with restlessness, but with reverence. Before speaking to the world, listen to your soul, for the voice of God speaks in the language of symbols, not sentences. His replies are veiled in the fabric of your subconscious, draped in the hues of karmic memory and spiritual prophecy. What seems like a story may be a message. What feels like emotion may be an answer. Sit upright in stillness. Keep your eyes half lowered and breathe slowly. 3 sacred breaths, drawing the inner current up the spine as if lifting a lantern to reveal forgotten writing on the wall of your consciousness. Then ask the soul, not the mind, what did thou wish to show me? Write, but do not interpret too quickly. Let meaning rise like morning mist from the surface of the lake. Sometimes it will be clear, a vision of your teacher, a loved one bringing peace, a light beckoning you toward a choice you must make. Sometimes it will be cloaked, colors, animals, voices, symbols. Do not rush to assign earthly logic. Instead, pray again. Lord, if this is thy whisper, let me not distort it in my noise. Your discernment increases as your stillness deepens. The more you practice this morning decoding ritual, the more fluent you become in the divine subtle tongue. And always remember this. If your dream has left you uplifted, comforted, or instructed, then it was not born of delusion, but of grace. Whether it came from an angelic messenger, a departed soul, or your own higher self, it has served its purpose. To draw you inward, to remind you of your eternal belonging to the divine. Record these messages. Speak them softly in prayer, and thank the giver, not for the answer, but for the communion it brought. Now, beloved soul, we arrive at the threshold where night meets day, where the unseen becomes seen, and where the word that was whispered before sleep returns again in light. We do not end here. We complete the circuit, for the mantra you speak before sleep is not finished when the body awakens. It continues in silence. It continues in how you rise, how you breathe, how you remember. Let me offer you now the 4 divine words once more, not as something to recite, but as something to become. Divine Mother, walk with me. These are not separate from your nightly mantra. They are its seed, its echo, its breath. When spoken upon waking, they reaffirm what the soul experienced during the night. You are not beginning a new day as a stranger. You are returning as one who has traveled through the subtle corridors of light and who now carries the fragrance of the divine within every cell. Repeat these 4 words slowly. Divine Mother, walk with me. Do not rush them. Let your voice bow with them. Let your body align with them. Let your eyes look upon the day with the stillness they offer. These words are not a petition. They are a continuation. They carry the vibration of last night's surrender into the actions of today. They are not just meant for your meditation cushion. They are to be worn like a spiritual garment as you move through the world. If you have received a message in your dream, give thanks. If you remember nothing, give thanks still. For even in forgetfulness, the soul was blessed. The energy has shifted. The vibration is active. The light is working from within. And now I ask you to make this vow, not just silently, but publicly, with sacred boldness. Below this sacred offering, write, I open my dreams to divine light, not to superstition, not to fantasy, but to divine light. By writing it, you confirm to your soul what it already longs to live. And as you write, thousands of others will write, and we will become a temple of souls awakening, not just in daylight, but in the still and holy hours of the night. This is your invitation, your transmission, your breath of remembrance. You are not a sleeper. You are a listener. You are not lost in dreams. You are led. You are not waiting for God to speak. He already has. Now breathe one final time and say with me, Divine Mother, walk with me in my sleep. Show me the truth through thy light. And she will. Shanti, peace. The sleep is sacred. The dream is a doorway. And you have remembered the key. One day the breath will cease. The heart will no longer beat its sacred drum. The body, once animated by your thoughts, your dreams, your longings, will lie still. Others will say, he has died. She is gone. But beloved soul, I tell you with all the light of my realization, you will not be gone. You cannot die. You never were this body to begin with. What you truly are is untouched by fire, wind, time, or decay. The body is the garment. The soul is the light that wore it. And when the garment is laid down, the light returns, unextinguished, unbroken, and fully alive in God. This truth is so simple, yet so few live it. Most go through life believing they are this skin, this voice, this name. But in deep meditation, in God communion, in samadhi, I have left this body many times. I have soared through the astral heavens, touched the causal brilliance, and I have seen firsthand that death is not destruction, it is transition. And what a tragedy it is to wait until the final breath to wonder what lies beyond. For beyond lies not darkness, but awakening. Beyond lies not silence, but the music of the spheres. Beyond lies not fear, but the realization that you were never separate from the source that called you into being. You see, the real shock is not that death comes. The real shock is the moment when the soul leaves the body and realizes, I am still here. The mind may try to define death with science, with philosophy, with doctrine. But death in its truest form is a return. It is the soul stepping through a curtain only to discover that the stage it thought was real was only a shadow play. And the curtain that seemed to separate life and death, once passed through, reveals a greater life, luminous and infinite. Those who fear death do so because they have not remembered who they are. They fear losing what they never truly owned. They grieve the collapse of what was always impermanent. But the yogi learns to die daily. Each meditation, each surrender of ego, each renunciation of desire is a rehearsal for the final letting go. And when the moment of passing comes, the true yogi smiles. He lifts his eyes to the light. He breathes out the last breath not in fear, but in devotion. And he rises. You too must awaken from this dream. Begin now to see yourself not as the body that ages, but as the eternal flame within it. Close your eyes even now and repeat this sacred affirmation. I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am the immortal soul sent by God. Say it again. Say it until your cells tremble. Say it until the soul begins to stir behind your ribs. You were never born to die. You were born to remember. And death, so misunderstood, is the sacred moment where remembrance becomes reality. When the final breath leaves the body, when the senses no longer reach outward, when the world falls away like a dream upon waking, that is not the end. That is the beginning. It is the soul's return to its eternal origin. What you call death, I have seen clearly through the eye of Kriya. It is the soul's first moment of full recognition after a long sleep of earthly delusion. In that instant, stripped of flesh and personality, the soul knows once again, I am not of this world. I came from the light. I return to the light. As the body lies still, the soul rises, gently, without confusion if it is prepared, or with sorrow and clinging if it is not. For those who have meditated, who have lived in God's remembrance, the transition is effortless. Like a swan gliding from one lake to the next, the soul lifts from the spinal center, through the medulla, and passes into the astral world, a realm more vibrant, more harmonious, more real than this one. There the forms are made of light. The thoughts move faster than words. The desires take shape instantly, for it is a world governed not by matter, but by vibration. In this higher world, the soul is met, not by angels of wrath or judgment, but by loved ones, guides, and radiant presences who vibrate on similar frequencies. Some are familiar, some you will remember from other incarnations. Some may be your own higher aspects. There is no punishment in God's creation, only vibration meeting vibration, truth meeting truth, soul recognizing soul. Imagine it, after decades in a heavy body, bound by gravity and flesh, the soul floats weightless in a robe of light. You move not with feet, but with thought. You speak not with voice, but with pure knowing. There is no aging, no pain, only a shimmering awareness woven with divine memory. If you have loved truly in this life, you will feel that love intensified. If you have served selflessly, that joy will envelop you like golden breath. But if you have lived in fear, in selfishness, in separation, then the soul feels distance, a fog, a yearning for clarity. Even there is no hell, only degrees of proximity to the divine light. Beloved, you were never meant to dwell here forever. Earth is your schoolroom, your test. But the soul's true homeland is not this dust. It is the astral garden, the heavenly realm spoken of in every sacred tradition. And when you die, the journey truly begins, not toward oblivion, but toward the unveiling of God. Repeat this now in your heart. I will not fear death, for it brings me home. I came from the light, and to the light I return. Let these words echo in your inner temple. The moment of death is not a defeat. It is the soul's return to the greater life. When the soul begins its exit from the body, what truly unravels is not life, but illusion. Death unmasks Maya. It strips away the false identities, the veils of personality, the roles we clung to in this brief performance called earthly life. For years, the ego insisted, this is who I am. I am this profession, this name, this face, this pain, this desire. But as the breath falters and the senses dissolve, none of these illusions can follow. The soul is forced to face itself, not as a character in a drama, but as a being of pure vibration, clothed only in its karma and consciousness. The process begins gently for some, violently for others, but always with precision. First, the earth element within the body begins to withdraw. The bones, the flesh, the weight of the body begins to loosen its hold. Then the water element, the fluids and circulations, recedes. The fire, the inner heat, dims. The air, the breath, shortens. Finally, the ether, the field of space and awareness, begins to collapse. The senses shut down one by one. First smell, then taste, then sight. Last to go is hearing, and in that sacred silence the soul is offered a final opportunity to remember, to surrender, to ascend. If the soul is trained, if it has meditated, prayed, served, surrendered, it will rise with peace. It will lift through the spine like a luminous breath. But if the soul is bound to the world, if it clings to unfinished desires, if it fears what is beyond, it may hover, it may struggle, it may experience confusion. And so the great yogis prepared for this moment all their lives. For them, death was not a surprise. It was a liberation, a final exhale into God. But more than the physical, it is the unmasking of the ego that defines death. You see, while alive, the ego wore 1,000 masks. It claimed your thoughts. It painted fears as truths. It made you believe that your worth was in your possessions, your relationships, your control. But at death, all masks are torn away. There, only truth remains. You are faced not with judgment from outside, but with the mirror of your own vibration. What did you love? What did you fear? What did you offer? What did you withhold? All these appear as impressions in the soul's subtle sheath. Some souls experience flashes of memory, their entire life reviewed in a breath, not to shame, but to awaken, to give clarity. Others experience a profound stillness, as if God is asking, now that you are no longer pretending, who are you really? And in that question lies either liberation or the longing that draws the soul back to rebirth. Say this now. I am not my roles. I am not my memories. I am not my fears. I am the witness. I am the soul. I am the light behind all appearances. Maya cannot follow you past the threshold. Only your essence continues. And that essence was always divine. Now that the body has been shed, now that the illusions of ego have dissolved, the question arises, where does the soul go? This is not determined by belief, ritual, or words spoken by others. It is determined by vibration. Just as a bird cannot fly to heights its wings are not trained for, the soul cannot ascend beyond the frequency it has cultivated in life. Where the soul goes after death is not a matter of judgment. It is a matter of alignment. You rise where you belong. The law is simple, sacred, and exact. Like attracts like. The soul is drawn to the realm whose vibration matches its own. If the soul has cultivated selfishness, fear, or indulgence, it is drawn to heavier astral zones, dense, shadowed, but never eternal. If it has grown in love, purity, surrender, and God remembrance, it lifts swiftly into luminous regions, into peace, into radiant communion. These are not punishments or rewards, they are the magnetism of spiritual law. There are three primary destinations after death, each more subtle than the last. The physical realm, earth where the soul returns through reincarnation due to unfinished desires, attachments, or karma. The astral world, a realm of light and thought, where the soul rests, reflects, and may remain for hundreds of years in peace or subtle longing. The causal world, the highest plane beneath full liberation, where the soul is almost completely merged with divine consciousness, free from individuality, existing in blissful ideation. If the soul still desires experiences, if it still clings to forms, however beautiful, it must return to earth. If it yearns only for God, if all other desires have been purified through love and wisdom, then it may rise to the higher astral or causal heavens, and eventually beyond all form into union with spirit. But most souls, even well-meaning ones, are still bound to earthly dreams. They sleep in the astral until the law of karma, like a divine clock, draws them back into incarnation. They choose parents, geography, circumstances, not randomly, but by karmic resonance. Their soul knows what must be learned next, what must be paid, what must be purified, and so they return, not as punishment, but as opportunity. But the great ones, the saints, the yogis, the God lovers, they do not return. Having dissolved all attachments, they ascend into the light. I have spoken with such beings. I have seen my own guru, Sri Yukteswar, appear to me in full astral form, glowing like the sun, his voice a current of divine bliss. He confirmed that those who love God above all do not wander. They rise. Say this now. My soul is not bound. My path is clear. My destination is God. May I cultivate now the vibration I wish to rise to later. Your future after death is not sealed by fate. It is shaped by your devotion today. What the world calls the afterlife, the soul knows as the astral world, a realm not of dense matter, but of radiant light and vibrating intelligence. I have seen this world. I have conversed with those who live there, and I tell you now it is not a fantasy, nor is it a place imagined in grief. It is more real than this shadow we call earth. For what we call solid is but frozen energy, but what we call the astral is living light, conscious form, thought clothed in beauty. When the soul enters the astral, it is greeted by surroundings that match its vibration. Some arrive in peaceful gardens of celestial color, beyond the palette of any earthly artist. The trees shimmer with awareness. The rivers hum a music no instrument can play. The sky breathes peace and the very air pulses with divine remembrance. Souls move with thought, communicate with feeling, and live without hunger, sleep, or time-bound decay. It is the world your soul has always dimly remembered in dreams. There you do not wear the heavy body. You wear the astral body, a sheath of light shaped by your spiritual evolution. You may appear youthful, glowing, clothed in inner radiance. Those you have loved, if they too reside there, will greet you not as aged forms, but as their true selves, made beautiful by devotion. You may live in homes of light, attend temples of knowledge, meet guides who teach you with soundless wisdom. Every soul is given what it needs to awaken further. But even this world is not the final home. It is a resting place, a school, a sanctuary for reflection. For even there, the soul must choose to cling or to ascend. Some souls become attached even to this beauty and delay their liberation. Others, seeing through even the astral delight, long only for the infinite. And they rise again, shedding even the astral form, until only consciousness without form remains. In the astral, there are also zones of lower vibration, dim, dreamlike regions where confused or selfish souls reside. Not as punishment, but by the law of attraction. These areas are not hell, but temporary hospitals for wounded egos. Eventually, the soul is drawn upward. No one is ever eternally lost. Some astral dwellers assist earthbound souls. These are the guides, the watchers, the unseen hands that nudge you in dreams or during meditation. Their bodies are invisible to the material eye, but sensitive ones may feel them as presence, scent, warmth, or light. I have seen my guru in the astral, Sri Yukteswar, who appeared to me after death with great radiance. He explained the astral mechanics, the journey of souls, and the causal light beyond. I write of it in my book not to impress, but to awaken your memory. Say now, the world beyond is not fantasy, it is home. I will live now in a way that prepares me to dwell in the astral light. Your soul is not walking toward death, it is walking toward a higher life. And yet for most souls, the journey beyond death is not the final ascent. The astral sojourn, no matter how beautiful, is only a pause. The soul must return, not because it is condemned, but because it is unfinished. There are karmas to complete, lessons to master, attachments to burn away in the fire of experience. This is why you return. This is why you are here now, not as punishment, but as pilgrimage. You see, each life is not isolated. It is part of a great river, flowing through many lands. The soul chooses, or is drawn to, a new incarnation based on the exact vibration of its unresolved tendencies. It is not blind. It is not random. You do not come into this world without meaning. You are drawn to parents, geography, language, and time like iron filings, to a magnet, all of it orchestrated by the unerring law of karma. What you have done, you must balance. What you have withheld, you must give. What you have feared, you must transcend. Each return is a sacred opportunity to get closer to God union. Some souls stay longer in the astral, some return swiftly, some are given glimpses of their past errors, their missed awakenings, and they long to come back and correct them. And so the wheel turns. And the yogis, seeing this great drama of return, yearn not for repetition, but for release. They do not fear reincarnation, but they seek to transcend it. For they know, no joy, however divine on earth or astral, compares to the bliss of final merging with the infinite. And yet, even in return, there is grace. For souls travel in groups, bound by shared karma and soul ties. Your loved ones, your enemies, your spiritual friends. These threads weave through lives. You may feel drawn to someone without reason. You may fear someone without cause. You may weep upon meeting a stranger. These are echoes. These are hints. The soul recognizes what the mind cannot remember. Say now, if I return, may it be only to serve. If I must walk again upon the earth, Let it be with God in my heart. You have come before. You may come again. But the more you awaken now, the less you must return. And the sooner you shall be free. There is a secret whispered through the sacred halls of yogic wisdom, a truth known to saints and mystics across all ages. Your last thought determines your next beginning. Just as the compass of your final breath points, so shall your soul travel. This is no mere poetic idea. It is a law, subtle and exact. The final vibration of the conscious mind becomes the first imprint in the next world. That is why the yogi spends every day preparing, not for success, not for status, but for the moment of death. To die consciously is not to die without pain. It is to die without fear. It is to keep the gaze of the mind lifted toward the eye of spirit. It is to offer the final breath with the same reverence as the first mantra of meditation. To die consciously is to remember, at the very last, that you are the soul. Most people die as they have lived, scattered, frightened, reactive. But you, beloved one, can live with such devotion that even death bows to your remembrance. If you train the mind daily to return to God, then in that final moment, the habit will hold you. The name of the divine will be on your lips. The light of the spiritual eye will draw your gaze. And as the senses dim, you will rise. Practice now every night before sleep, the art of conscious departure. Sit in silence, breathe slowly. Offer all burdens, all regrets, all attachments into the hands of the infinite. Then say, I am thine, be thou mine. Let that be your final prayer each day. Let that be your final breath in this life. For those who pass with God in their mind do not wander, they ascend. And for those who are still learning, still returning, every death becomes a stepping stone toward eternal life. Say now within, I will live in such a way that my death is an offering, not a loss. I will remember the divine when it matters most, because I remember him now. Do not fear the end. Prepare for it with devotion, and when it comes, you will not be carried away by fear, but lifted by light. Beloved, if you wish to rise beyond the veil of death, if you long to escape the wheel of returning birth and passing form, then the time to prepare is now. Not at the hour of death, when the senses falter. Not at the last moment, when breath is shallow and the mind is clouded by pain. No. Now, while your eyes are open and your body moves freely. Now, while the flame of longing still burns in your heart. This moment is your most sacred opportunity. You must not waste it. Every day you live without God remembrance is a day closer to a confused death. Every day you meditate, serve, love, and surrender is a day that polishes the mirror of the soul. Do not say, I will seek God when I am old. Say instead, I will live today as though death were near, not in fear, but in holy urgency. Each act of kindness lightens your karma. Each breath offered in prayer purifies your mind. Each moment spent in stillness thins the veil between you and the infinite. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to renounce the world. You need only begin, faithfully, sincerely, and daily. Meditate each morning. Offer your actions to the divine. Speak lovingly. Serve without expectation. And at night, withdraw into the sacred cave of the heart, repeating the name of God like a rope tying you to eternity. And above all, train your mind to return to the spiritual eye, the seat of divine vision. There, in that holy center, the soul remembers. There, at the time of death, you will see the light that leads you home. But you must practice now so that when the moment comes, the soul flies upward without fear. Say this now, I will prepare each day for my return to God. I will not wait for the end to seek the beginning. I will live in such a way that I die consciously and rise joyfully. Do not fear death, dear one. Forgetfulness is the only death, and every moment of remembrance is a step closer to union. And now, beloved soul, I offer you this blessing, not from the voice of theory, but from the stillness of experience. I have crossed the threshold of death and returned to speak of it. I have seen the soul rise like a phoenix from the ashes of form. I have watched the body fall silent and the spirit rise singing. I do not tell you these truths to impress you. I tell you so that you may remember who you are before the last moment comes. Let death not be your enemy, but your teacher. Let it walk beside you, not as a shadow, but as a mirror. When you see it clearly, you will no longer live for trivial things. You will no longer waste your breath on what fades. You will pour your time, your love, your yearning into what endures. For the soul was not made to seek comfort. It was made to seek communion. Do not wait until the body begins to fail. Begin now. Let each sunrise remind you, I am closer to my return. Let each breath be an offering. Let each word be weighed not in applause, but in alignment. You are not a victim of fate. You are a child of the infinite, sent to remember the way home. And when that moment comes, you will not fall into darkness. You will rise into light. Let this be your mantra. I do not fear the end, for I live in the eternal. I do not grieve death, for I have met the one who waits beyond it. I do not seek to escape life, but to awaken in it so fully that even death bows to me. And now, as this sacred offering ends, I ask you to declare this truth, not just to yourself, but as a vibration to the universe. Write in the space below, I am the soul, and I will not fear death. Let this be your vow. Let it be your blessing to others. Let it become the magnet that draws you to God in this life, in the next, and beyond. You are not the dust that falls. You are the light that rises. You are not the breath that ends. You are the immortal spirit sent to awaken again and again, until only God remains. May you live with that remembrance. May you die with that peace. May you awaken fully here and beyond. Peace be unto your soul forever.
Beloved soul, you have waited so long to hear the voice of God. You have cried in silence. You have prayed through your pain. You have looked into the night sky and whispered, Are you there? Do you hear me? But I tell you with the authority of inner vision, God has never stopped speaking. He speaks even now, not in the language of the world, not in the thunder of command or the clamor of logic, but in the soft, radiant frequency of the soul. He speaks in stillness. He speaks in vibration. He speaks in the sacred intimacy that words cannot reach. If you are waiting to hear God's voice with your ears, you may wait a long while. But if you begin to listen with your soul, with that inner ear which has been deafened by doubt and noise, then suddenly you will hear what has always been there. You will begin to notice that behind every event, beneath every longing, within every breath, there is a whisper, a tug, a warmth, a divine pull that is not yours alone but the infinite reaching into your finite. Oh, how tender is that voice, not loud like the voice of men, not forceful like the demands of the ego. It is subtle, like sunlight on water, like a breeze through leaves, like the silent falling of a tear when the heart is too full for speech. That is how God speaks. And if your soul is calm enough, empty enough, surrendered enough, you will know it not by sound, but by recognition. You will say, Ah, it is you. I knew it. Many say to me, Master, I pray, but I hear nothing. And I say to them, God is not silent. You are surrounded by static. You cannot hear the whisper of spirit if your mind is clanging with desire. You cannot feel his nearness if your heart is armored with anxiety. It is not that he has gone anywhere. It is that you have turned away, again and again, from the place he waits, the stillness at the center of your being. God is not found in the scroll of the phone, in the noise of endless activity. He is found in the pause between thoughts, in the surrender after the prayer, in the sacred space you make for him each morning, not out of duty, but out of love. And so I ask you, have you truly made room for him to speak? Or have you only shouted into the heavens, expecting an answer to thunder down through the clouds? Let me offer you a truth. The longing you feel to hear God is not a one-sided desire. That longing is his voice. It is his breath in your chest, his spark in your spine, his memory stirring in the depths of your soul. When you ache for him, it is because he is calling. The ache is the call. The thirst is the message. You are not seeking him alone. He is seeking you. And if you understood how close he stands to you now, you would fall to your knees in awe and weep with joy. So let us pause just now and open that sacred channel. Close your eyes, not in sleep, but in reverence. Let the world recede. Let the breath draw in slowly. Inhale, not just air, but divine presence. And exhale, releasing thought, tension, expectation. Now ask, not with words, but with stillness. Beloved, I am here. Speak to me. And then wait, not as one begging, but as one already heard. Now that you have turned inward, now that you have tasted even a moment of sacred stillness, let me speak to you of a divine law that governs all communication between your soul and God, the law of spiritual reception. Just as no radio can play music unless it is tuned to the right frequency, so the soul must become inwardly attuned to the subtle vibrations of spirit. The infinite is always transmitting, always radiating love, wisdom, and guidance. But if your inner receiver is clogged with the static of worldly distraction, you will miss the message every time. God does not scream, he does not argue, he does not need to prove his voice above the rest. Instead, he waits in silence. He surrounds you with signs, with subtle nudges, with divine repetitions, and when your consciousness is still, when your breath is calm and your devotion sincere, you begin to receive, not with your mind, but with your being. You do not analyze what God says, you absorb it, you know it. It arrives not as thought, but as vibration, a peaceful knowing, a holy clarity. This is why those who try to command God, or test him, or demand loud answers, leave disappointed. The divine cannot be summoned by force. He responds to resonance. He comes when your heart is open, humble, receptive. Just as a flower opens in the presence of the sun, your soul must open in the presence of surrender. Not my will, Lord, but thine. Not my fear, but thy peace. Not my need to be answered, but my need to be one with thee. Let me offer you a picture. Imagine standing by a still lake. If the surface is calm, you can see the reflection of the sky. But if the surface is disturbed, the image is broken. So it is with your soul. When your inner stillness is maintained, through meditation, breath, surrender, you begin to perceive God's voice reflected in your intuition, in your peace, in your spontaneous wisdom. But when the surface of your mind is turbulent with doubt or desire, the reflection disappears. You must understand that the voice of God is not an external voice. It is not an alien sound that enters your ear from outside. It is a sacred resonance that rises within. And that is why it is so easily missed, for we are taught to look outward, to listen outward. But God speaks inwardly. He speaks through sudden clarity, through loving stillness, through a mysterious assurance that does not need explanation. It is felt, not argued. And so I ask you now, when last did you enter stillness not to get something from God, but to simply be with him? This is the posture of true reception. Not grasping, not pleading, but resting, trusting, surrendering into divine presence and letting that presence teach you directly. Let us breathe now, gently. Inhale and feel as though your heart is a sacred instrument being tuned. Exhale and release all demand, all noise. Whisper inwardly, I do not need to hear with ears. I receive with my soul. For it is through stillness, not effort, that God's voice becomes clear. He is not hiding. He is not far. You need only listen, differently. Let me now show you one of the most misunderstood ways in which God speaks to his children. Disruption. When your carefully arranged plans begin to unravel, when your routines are interrupted, when the path you thought was certain suddenly breaks apart beneath your feet, the ego says, something has gone wrong. But I say to you, beloved, what if this is God's voice? What if this disruption is not destruction, but divine instruction? You must understand, God is not concerned with your comfort. He is concerned with your liberation. And the ego builds its comfort upon illusions, jobs that numb the soul, relationships that replace the divine beloved, ambitions that crowd out silence. And so, in his mercy, God intervenes. He begins to interrupt you, not out of punishment, but out of longing. He loves you too much to let you drift further into forgetfulness, and thus he speaks by shaking you. Have you not noticed how often spiritual awakening begins with loss? The job that vanished, the friend who left, the dream that collapsed. These are not signs that God has abandoned you. They are signs that he is reordering your life from the inside out. That which is not aligned with your soul's highest calling must be cleared, no matter how tightly you cling, for God will not share your heart with illusion. When he knocks, it is not always gentle, but it is always loving. Let me share a truth. God will allow you to be emptied before He fills you. He will allow what is false to fall away before He reveals what is true. Do not curse the interruption. It is sacred. It is a holy pause, a divine reset. And if you learn to recognize it, not resist it, you will begin to hear the voice within the chaos. A quiet invitation. Come closer. Let me guide you now. Sometimes He will remove a path not because it is evil, but because it is not yours. Sometimes He will shut a door, not because He is angry, but because He knows what lies behind it will delay your return to Him. You must trust that when the foundation shakes, it is not to make you fall. It is to reveal that you had built your house on sand. And now, by divine mercy, you are being invited to rebuild it on the rock of inner communion. There is a parable I cherish. A shepherd, when a lamb runs astray again and again, may gently break its leg, not out of cruelty, but so the lamb will remain close to his heart as it heals. He carries it upon his shoulders, and the lamb learns not only to follow, but to love the voice of the shepherd. Such are the disruptions of God. He wounds only to draw you nearer. So if you find yourself in a season of uncertainty, if the ground beneath you has shifted, if the things you once relied upon have vanished, pause, breathe, and instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is God trying to say through this?" You will find that hidden inside every disruption is a divine whisper. I am here. I am real. I want you to follow me now. Let us breathe together. Inhale and feel the trembling within you. Exhale and release your resistance. Say inwardly, I will not fight the disruption. I will follow the voice within it. For it is often through the cracking of the shell that the soul is finally born. Now, dear soul, let us listen again, not to the noise of chance, but to the mysterious rhythm of divine repetition. If the first sign of God's voice is disruption, then the second is gentler, more subtle, but no less sacred. Repetition. Have you noticed how a certain word keeps returning to you? How the same message follows you through different mouths, different places, different forms? That is not coincidence. That is a whisper. That is the signature of God, repeating Himself until your soul finally turns and says, "Speak, Lord, I am listening." God does not always shout. Sometimes He simply repeats. He places the same truth before you again and again, because you are too distracted to see it the first time, and so He plants it in a friend's conversation. He embeds it in a song. He brings it back in a dream. He etches it into your quiet moments when no one else is around. This is the patterned whisper, the divine echo that says, "Child, you have heard this before. Will you listen now?" I remember in the silence of deep meditation, I would hear a phrase arise from the stillness, not as thought, but as knowing. Then later that day, a disciple would say that same phrase aloud. Later still, I would open a scripture, and there it was again. Each time I bowed, not to the man, not to the book, but to the presence that had spoken thrice. I knew the divine was confirming the message, and so I received it, not with the ego's pride, but with the soul's reverence. When something returns to you, not once, not twice, but 3 or 4 times, it is no longer mere suggestion. It is invitation. Pay attention. Is there a scripture you keep encountering? A teaching you resist but cannot escape? A person who keeps appearing just when your heart needs clarity? These are not accidents. They are alignments. They are divine fingerprints, and they must not be ignored. But repetition is not only outer, it happens within as well. Have you felt that one truth you cannot shake? That inner nudge that returns in your quietest moments? That is God's voice through conviction. He will not compel you, but He will return until you are ready. Again and again He says, turn inward. Again and again He says, let this go. Again and again He says, I am here. This is not nagging, this is grace. For how many times have we ignored the first whisper, and yet the divine returns, not in anger, but in endless compassion. He repeats the invitation until we finally soften, surrender, obey. This is the mercy of the infinite. He will come back to the same doorstep as long as love guides His footsteps. Do not think, beloved, that your mind is simply fixated. It may be that your soul is being awakened. And what the soul needs to remember, God will allow to echo. These echoes are not empty. They are filled with presence. Let us pause now. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply. Let your mind fall silent. And ask, what truth keeps returning to me? Do not analyze. Just feel. Just receive. There is something God has been saying again and again. Will you finally listen? Say it now, as a vow. I will honor the pattern. I will recognize the repetition. I will listen to the echo and follow its source. For the whisper that repeats is not noise. It is the voice of God drawing nearer. Now, my beloved, let us approach the most sacred and often overlooked of all divine signs, the stillness. If you have been waiting for words, if you have hoped for signs written in the sky, for voices to rise from the clouds, let me tell you this secret. The clearest voice of God is not thunder. It is silence. It is not motion. It is stillness. When all noise falls away and you find yourself in a sacred quietness that you did not create, that you did not expect, that is not absence. That is presence. That is God. There comes a moment in the life of every sincere seeker when, after the prayers have been spoken, after the striving has ceased, after the mind has surrendered its last demand, there remains only stillness. And in that moment, many become afraid. They say, why is there nothing? Where is the answer? But, oh dear soul, do not flee that silence. For within it, the infinite is speaking, not in sound, but in being. His presence is not always felt in words, but in the radiant hush that descends when the soul is ready. Have you ever sat in meditation and suddenly become aware that everything had grown still? That the breath was quiet, the heart calm, the mind subdued, and yet you felt alive? That was not emptiness. That was God. He had entered, not with proclamation, but with presence. He had lit the inner lamp, the silent flame that burns without wind. It does not flicker, it does not cry out, but it glows. And in that glow, the soul knows. I am not alone. I am not forgotten. I am home. This sacred stillness is not merely the absence of noise, it is the presence of divinity. It is the condition of pure awareness, untouched by thought, unshaken by desire. And when it comes, you must honor it. You must sit as before a king, not speaking, not moving, not even seeking, but simply being. For in that being, God and soul are one. I have sat for hours in that stillness. I have walked through gardens, through cities, through trials, with that stillness burning in my spine. It is the breathless calm that knows, thou art here. And when you begin to feel that stillness even amid movement, even amid life's turns, then you are beginning to live in constant communion. The world will tell you that silence is emptiness, but I tell you, silence is fullness. The world will say that stillness is inactivity, but I say, stillness is supreme activity. It is the presence of the Creator within the created. So the next time you feel a sudden peace descend upon you, a silence that feels holy, do not dismiss it. Do not rush to fill it with thought or speech. Bow to it. That is God's way of saying, I am here. I am enough. Let us breathe now, slowly. Inhale the silence, exhale the noise, and say inwardly, I will not fear the stillness. I will meet God there. For where the noise ends, the divine begins. My beloved, now let me dispel a shadow that has lingered in your heart perhaps for many years, the false idea that you are not worthy to hear the voice of God, that his voice belongs only to saints, prophets, or great yogis, that you must be perfect or advanced, or somehow chosen to be worthy of divine communion. This is not true. This is Maya's last defense, to convince you that the door is locked when it has been open all along. God does not reserve his presence for a few. He made your soul as a living receiver. You were designed to hear him. You must understand this. You are not a beggar knocking at the gates of heaven. You are a child of the infinite, born from light, sustained by light, and destined to return to that light. The ability to hear God is not a spiritual talent. It is your birthright. The divine voice may be faint now, yes, obscured by lifetimes of distraction, but it is there. It is always there, and the more you surrender, The more you listen, the more you quiet your heart, the clearer it becomes. You are capable of hearing God, not through effort, but through stillness, not through shouting, but through reverence. Begin not with doubt, but with this affirmation: God is not hiding. I am awakening. Say it again, slowly, and feel its truth settle into your bones. I am ready. I was born ready. I was made for this. Do not compare yourself with others. Each soul awakens at its appointed hour. The difference between the saint and the seeker is not distance from God, but depth of attention. You can begin today, now, in this breath. The divine voice does not come because of your perfection. It comes because of your sincerity. Let us anchor this truth now. Sit tall, inhale gently. Place your awareness at the spiritual eye, the point between the eyebrows. Feel your breath rising, carrying with it the willingness to receive. Exhale, releasing all doubt. Say within, God is near. I am listening. This is not hope. This is truth. You are capable. You are ready. The divine is already speaking through the stillness inside you. Beloved soul, divine communication is not reserved for sacred temples or dramatic revelations. It is born in rhythm. Just as the sun rises and sets, just as the breath flows in and out, your soul must establish a rhythm of listening, a daily ritual of spiritual receptivity. Without this rhythm, divine messages may come, but they will not be received. The body needs rest, the mind needs focus, and the soul, yes, the soul needs its hour of remembrance. Let me guide you in the ancient, simple ways that open the channel to God. In the evening, before you sleep, do not let your thoughts be filled with the world's residue. Sit in silence, even for 5 minutes. Withdraw your attention from the body. Place your gaze at the spiritual eye, the seat of intuition, the gateway between human limitation and divine perception. Say nothing. Ask nothing. Just listen. Be. This is the sacred posture of the soul that remembers how to receive. In the morning, before the demands of the world call your name, whisper one phrase with the whole sincerity of your being. Speak, Lord, I am listening. Then sit in stillness again. Do not rush. Do not measure. Just be present. The voice of God will not always come in words, but you will feel the clarity, the peace, the guidance rise within you like a sunrise behind closed eyes. And throughout the day, carry a small journal, not as a diary of complaints, but as a sacred record of divine echoes. Write what stands out, the phrase that pierced you, the dream that lingered, the image that returned again and again. Track the repetition, honor the disruption, remember the stillness, and soon you will see the divine pattern form. You will see that God has been speaking to you all along. Think of yourself as a temple. Each morning you sweep the floor. Each night you light the lamp. Not because he is not present, but because your devotion awakens your awareness of his presence. The divine guest comes where he is welcomed, not by formality, but by love. Say this with me now. Each day I prepare a place for thee. Each night I listen in sacred silence. I am no longer waiting. I am receiving. This is the ritual. This is the rhythm. This is the soul remembering how to hear. And now, dear soul, we seal this sacred knowing with one final breath of remembrance. You have searched. You have prayed. You have doubted and hoped, feared and longed. But I tell you now, as one who has touched the feet of the infinite, he is already with you. He has always been with you. Not one moment has passed when he did not surround you, fill you, call to you. You were never abandoned. You were simply asleep. God does not speak as the world speaks. His words are not composed of syllables and sound, but of vibration, light, stillness, presence. He speaks through the break in your plans, through the message you keep hearing, through the silence that falls like peace into your chest. He speaks through longing, through tears, through quiet joy. But above all, he speaks through love. And that love is within you now. Do not wait for a sign. You are the sign. Do not wait for a voice from the clouds. He already lives in your breath. Do not search outside yourself for what was planted in your soul before time began. Say it with me now, as a vow, a declaration, a spiritual decree. God has been speaking. Now I will listen. Write it, speak it, live it. Let this be your new beginning. The voice of God is not a mystery. It is your inheritance. And it is waiting now, in this breath.
Each night, before the body falls into slumber, before the world fades and the breath slows, the soul stands at the threshold of the infinite, carrying the residue of all that was thought, felt, feared, hoped, and forgotten. O beloved, this human life, so fleeting, so fragile, so filled with commotion, imprints its vibrations upon your subtle body with every moment you live. Though you may not always feel it, your consciousness is like a mirror that reflects divine light. But just as a mirror gathers dust each day though it was never broken, so too the soul gathers impressions, some sweet, some sorrowful, that cloud its radiance if not lovingly wiped away. You may feel a heaviness some evenings that you cannot explain, a sadness with no clear name, a restlessness with no obvious cause. That is not always emotion. That is spiritual residue, the friction of a soul exposed to the dualities of this earthly plane. Each interaction, each silent worry, each longing suppressed or acted upon, leaves a subtle mark on your consciousness. This is why the soul, though untouched in essence, must be lovingly cleansed, not with guilt, not with shame, but with remembrance. The night is holy. It is not a void, not an escape. It is the sacred chamber where you return to the lap of spirit. But how can the soul return home burdened by the weight of the day? How can it commune with the infinite if it drags the chains of unresolved thought, emotional unrest, and energetic clutter? Just as you would bathe your body before entering a temple, so must you cleanse your soul before crossing the threshold of sleep. For in sleep you return to the astral realm, the subtle world where your true nature communes with the light. The sleep you experience is not mere unconsciousness. It is a voyage, and what you carry with you into that voyage determines whether you rest in divine peace or wander in restless dreams. Many people fall into sleep like one who collapses from exhaustion, without prayer, without preparation, without awareness. But to the devotee, the night is not for collapse. It is for return, a return to God, a return to the sanctum within, where your soul remembers it was never stained, never separate, never lost. Think of the soul as a crystal lamp. During the day, that crystal becomes dimmed by the soot of interaction, the grime of mental noise, the smoke of unconscious reaction. Yet beneath it all, the light never dies. It only needs polishing. And what polishes the soul? Not punishment, not spiritual ambition, not the frantic effort to purify. It is the soft invocation of truth. It is the whispered surrender to the one who has always loved you, even when you forgot to love yourself. So I say to you, not as a preacher, but as one who has walked this path of forgetfulness and return, cleanse your soul each night, not because it is unworthy, but because it is worthy of remembering. You are not stained, you are not sinful, but you are covered in the dust of the world, and only love can lift it. Say to yourself, before I sleep, I return. Before I dream, I am renewed. Let each night become a ceremony. Let your last words before sleep not be complaints or plans or regrets, but invocations. Let your tongue speak not of the world, but of God. Let your breath become an offering. For when the final breath of this life comes, whenever it may be, it will resemble this nightly release. And if you have practiced surrender each night, you will pass into eternity, not in fear, but in radiant freedom. Come now, sit before the silence of sleep. Bow your head not in shame, but in sacredness. The soul is ready. The mirror longs to shine. The beloved waits for your voice. Beloved one, every breath you take, every thought you allow, every word you speak, and every feeling you entertain reverberates through the subtle corridors of your being. You are not merely flesh and thought. You are vibration. You are light molded into form. You are a radiant current flowing from the ocean of spirit. And this current is shaped, colored, and magnetized by the vibrational law, the divine science that governs the subtle effects of daily consciousness. During the waking hours, your soul moves through a world dense with desire, fear, distraction, and delusion. This is the realm of Maya, the cosmic hypnosis that makes the transient seem permanent. The illusion appear real, the false self seems central. As your consciousness engages with the outer world, it absorbs impressions, what in yogic science we call vasanas and samskaras, subtle grooves that shape perception and behavior. These are not sins in the way some believe. They are simply vibrational residues, echoes of experience that cling to the energy body like dust clings to sunlight in a crowded room. You may go through your day with good intentions, noble thoughts, kind acts, yet still return home spiritually weary. Why? Because even noble action, when not cleansed, creates impression. Because the world's frequency is not the soul's natural frequency. To be in the world is to walk through smoke, even if your heart is pure. And without a nightly return to spirit, that smoke becomes habitual. You stop realizing that your soul is gasping for the fresh air of silence, of peace, of God. The law of spiritual action is this: what you do in thought or deed leaves a trail. It does not corrupt the soul, but it clouds its clarity. The mind records every vibration. The heart absorbs every unseen weight. The subtle spine contracts or expands in response to the movements of consciousness. This is why a nightly cleansing is not optional for the serious seeker. It is essential. It is the maintenance of your inner altar. It is the purification of your own temple. Imagine your soul as a golden bell meant to ring out with divine sound. Each day of unchecked thought and tension wraps it in cotton. Soon the bell still exists, but its music is muffled, and the world begins to feel heavier, duller, further from God. The bell has not changed, but its resonance has been covered. The nightly invocation I shall give you is the sacred unwrapping. It is the return of resonance, the ringing of your soul's divine tone into the ethers of the universe. When you repeat certain phrases with true devotion, phrases charged with divine vibration, spoken not from the ego, but from the heart, you are not just saying words. You are activating spiritual laws. You are dissolving the subtle impressions from the day. You are calling light into the spine, peace into the heart, truth into the astral body. You are not merely ending your day. You are resetting your vibration to match that of the infinite. Do not underestimate the power of a single phrase spoken with soul sincerity before sleep. The sages of all ages knew this. They gave mantras, affirmations, holy names, not for tradition, but for transformation. For it is not the number of words you speak, but the purity of intention behind them that invokes divine law. So before you sleep, pause and ask yourself, what has my energy absorbed today? What needs to be released, not judged? What divine frequency do I wish to carry into my dreams? Then speak the words I shall soon give you, not as ritual, but as truth. Speak them until you feel the weight lift. Speak them until the soul sighs. Speak them until you remember that all along, beneath the heaviness, you were light. Beloved soul, obedience is not a word many welcome, yet it is the cornerstone of liberation. Not obedience to another's will, nor to some rigid command, but to the sacred rhythm of your own spiritual longing. To obey the deeper call of the soul is to recognize that while the body tires and the mind longs for distraction, there is something higher within you that cries out for communion before sleep. That voice, the quiet inner guide, is your eternal self inviting you into divine remembrance before the curtain of night falls. Why do most souls not cleanse themselves before bed? Not because they are evil, but because the ego prefers collapse over conscious release. The ego says, you are too tired to pray. Tomorrow will be a better time. What does it matter now? But the soul says, even if I whisper, let me speak to God. The soul does not measure volume. It treasures sincerity. One drop of devotion poured before sleep outweighs 1,000 idle thoughts in the ledger of spirit. There is a discipline to this moment, a sacred obedience to the inner altar. You must train yourself gently but firmly to end each day not with exhaustion, but with exaltation. Let the final act of your day not be scrolling through illusion, not collapsing into sleep without intention, but sitting, if only for a few minutes, in silent offering. For that moment of offering is not time lost to restlessness. It is time redeemed for eternity. Let me guide you into this sacred obedience. Before bed, create a simple space. No phone, no noise, no demands. Light a candle if you can. Sit upright or lie down with awareness. Straighten the spine, for it is the altar of the divine within you. The spine must be awake, even as the mind slows. Your breath must be steady, like a monk walking across still waters. Let the tongue remain silent, except to speak sacred words. Let the eyes close gently, with gaze turned inward to the point between the eyebrows, your doorway to divine remembrance. This posture is not just physical, it is spiritual alignment. It says to the universe, I am ready to return, I am ready to release, I am ready to remember. Even if your body is weary, even if your day was hard, even if you feel spiritually dry, do it anyway. Do it as a soul practice, not as performance, and you will find, with each passing night, that the soul begins to stir, like a lotus rising through the waters of your subconscious. And now, listen. Before I give you the words to say, I ask that you prepare the temple. Not a temple built with bricks, but the temple of breath, of spine, of sacred inner attention. Obedience is not repression, it is reorientation. It is the loving decision to place God before habit, to place remembrance before routine. Say softly now, even in my fatigue, I choose to return. Even in my weakness, I choose to speak to the light. Even at the end of this day, I begin again. For each night you obey this soul call, you break a pattern of forgetting, you silence the voice of laziness, and awaken the whisper of the eternal. Let your last act of the day be sacred. Let your sleep begin, not with unconsciousness, but with conscious release. And soon you will find that your dreams begin where your prayers left off. Beloved, before you speak the sacred words that will cleanse your soul each night, there is a greater truth that must be remembered, a foundation upon which the whole ritual rests. That truth is this: you are already pure. You are not becoming light. You were born of it. You are not striving toward divinity. You have simply forgotten that you are divine. The purpose of your nightly invocation is not to make yourself holy, but to clear away the debris that obscures your natural holiness. The world has told you that purity is earned, that it comes after penance, after perfection, after the long climb of moral effort. But I say to you from my own realization, purity is your original design. It is not something to be attained, it is something to be remembered. The child does not become innocent, it is innocent. And your soul, untouched by time, unsullied by thought, remains ever as it was, radiant, unblemished, one with God. What clouds your vision is not sin, but identification. You have mistaken the dust for the diamond, the storm for the sky, the ego for the self. Each day the mind dresses you in borrowed garments. I am tired, I am anxious, I am impure, I am not enough. And each night you must undress the soul, lay aside these false names, and return to your eternal identity. This is the function of affirmation. It is not self-flattery, it is soul remembrance. When spoken from the spine, with breath and inner gaze, a true affirmation dissolves the veil between who you think you are and who you truly are. So tonight and every night, I invite you to say these words not as belief, but as knowing, not as hope, but as revelation. Place your right hand on your heart. Let your gaze rise gently to the point between the eyebrows. Breathe in, slow and deep, and speak with me now. I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am not this day. I am the radiant soul untouched by thought, untouched by fear. I am already pure because I am made of God. Let these words not merely pass your lips, but ripple through your cells. Feel them settle into your bones. Feel them awaken something ancient in your spine, the holy vibration of remembrance. For you are not affirming a wish, You are proclaiming a truth your soul has always known. When you lie down tonight, do not collapse as the weary ego. Lie down as the living soul. Say, "This body will sleep, but I, the soul, remain ever awake in thee. This day will pass, but I, the eternal self, cannot be stained by time. Even in this world of change, I rest in the changeless light." The more you repeat this each night, the more the false self dissolves. The more the weight of unworthiness lifts. You begin to sense it in your dreams. You begin to carry it into your mornings. And you begin to see that you were never lost. You were only dreaming you were. So tonight, return to your divine blueprint. Say with soft certainty, "I am already pure." And from this place of truth, your soul begins to shine again. Now, beloved, you are ready. The soul has been summoned. The vibrational laws have been remembered. The inner discipline has been awakened. The truth of your divine purity has been declared. Now it is time to enter the sacred moment itself. The practice, the invocation, the prayer that shall cleanse your soul each night, not by effort, but by alignment. What you say before sleep is not just an utterance, it is a soul command, a vibrational key that unlocks the temple doors within you. It must be spoken not merely from the mouth, but from the center of your spine, the altar of your inner sanctuary. Even if your voice is quiet, even if your body is tired, your words carry power when they are offered with sincerity, stillness, and surrendered love. This prayer is given to you not as dogma, but as a living mantra, born of my own nightly offering to the divine. It is composed of 4 sacred parts, each one a rung upon the ladder that carries your consciousness from the dust of the day into the light of soul rest. Part 1. Invocation. Beloved Spirit, enter my consciousness now. Say this with gentle authority. You are not calling out to a distant God, but summoning the presence already within you. With this first phrase, the doors open. You turn your gaze inward. You invite the infinite to make itself known in your body, your breath, your spine. Part 2. Release. I release all burdens I have taken on today. Speak this slowly, with breath. As you say it, feel the weight of mental worry dissolve. Offer every fear, every resentment, every regret. Release them like leaves falling into the Ganges of God's grace. This is not a denial of your experience. It is a surrender of your identification with it. Let go. Part 3. Cleansing. Cleanse me in thy peace, O God of light. Now visualize a soft golden current of divine peace flowing down your spine, washing away all tension, dissolving the stains of thought and emotion that clung to your energy body throughout the day. Feel your aura glowing brighter. Feel the sacred water of spirit purifying every cell. Part 4. Surrender. I rest in thee, for I am thine. This is the sacred seal. You place your identity back into God's hands. You declare with full surrender that you no longer belong to the world, or to the demands of your ego, or to the regrets of your past. You belong to Spirit. You rest in the one who has always carried you. Repeat this 4-part invocation slowly, once, or as many times as the soul desires. You may pause between each line. Let each phrase ripple through the silence. You may breathe in between, letting the prayer settle. You may weep or you may smile. Both are signs of soul response. Say it with me now. Beloved Spirit, enter my consciousness now. I release all burdens I have taken on today. Cleanse me in thy peace, O God of light. I rest in thee, for I am thine. Again, beloved Spirit, enter my consciousness now. I release all burdens I have taken on today. Cleanse me in thy peace, O God of light. I rest in thee, for I am thine. And one last time, feel it. Feel the shift. Feel the veil lifting. The weight is lighter, the breath deeper, the inner sky clearer. This is not imagination. This is your soul awakening to its own radiance. Let this be your last act each night. Let this prayer become your final word, your soul's nightly bath, your spirit's lullaby. And as you drift into sleep, let the words echo inward like sacred bells. I rest in thee, for I am thine. Now, dearest soul, your prayer has been spoken, your burdens released, your spirit bathed in light. But before your consciousness withdraws into the inner world of dreams, there is one final task, a sealing, a remembrance, a soul declaration that implants into the very roots of your being the truth you have always carried but often forgotten. This is the moment not merely of purification, but of identity installation, a divine reprogramming that gently rewires the mind to mirror the soul. Each night before you surrender to sleep, you must not only cleanse what is false, you must proclaim what is true. To cleanse the soul without affirming the self is to wipe a mirror, but never look into it. Tonight and every night, let your final words be words of divine identity, spoken from the heart, rooted in truth, echoed in silence. These are not affirmations of desire. These are affirmations of eternal reality. Say them with me now, slowly, reverently, as if whispering to the infinite from the sacred altar of your spine. I sleep as a soul. You are not a body falling into unconsciousness. You are a soul withdrawing from outer senses into divine rest. Let this phrase remind you, you do not sleep to forget, you sleep to remember. I dream as a child of God. In sleep, the mind may wander, but the soul does not. Even in your dreams, divine protection surrounds you. This phrase anchors your astral experience in light. I awaken nearer to thee. Let this be your nightly promise and your daily prophecy. You are not the same being who awoke this morning. Each night of sacred cleansing brings you one step closer to God. Repeat them now 3 times aloud or inwardly. I sleep as a soul. I dream as a child of God. I awaken nearer to thee. I sleep as a soul. I dream as a child of God. I awaken nearer to thee. I sleep as a soul. I dream as a child of God. I awaken nearer to thee. Let these words settle in the sanctuary of your spine. Let them echo gently in the silence behind your thoughts. Feel them become not just a statement, but a spiritual vibration, a holy signature that imprints upon your subtle being as you slip into rest. Now visualize gently a golden current of light entering through the spiritual eye, flowing down the spine like liquid peace. This light washes over your mind, your heart, your body. It carries away the day's residue, leaving only clarity, serenity, and divine awareness. Breathe softly with devotion. Each breath deepens the imprint. You are no longer a fragment of the day's story. You are the eternal one, the radiant child of spirit, the formless light resting in the dream of form. Say within now, I am pure, I am loved, I am light. This is the final decree, not to change who you are, but to return you to what you have always been. And now, as the night embraces you, as sleep calls you gently home, rest in this truth. You are already whole. You are already clean. You are already divine. Sleep, not as the weary body, but as the awakened soul. Beloved soul, the sacred words you speak before sleep are not lost in the silence. They do not vanish into the darkness like fleeting sounds. No, they travel deep into the subtle mind, into the realm of dreams, into the vibration of your astral spine, where they continue their silent work while you rest. And when you awaken, if you have spoken them with devotion, something within you is changed. Not outwardly at first, but inwardly, unmistakably, eternally. When you rise from sleep after practicing this sacred nightly ritual, you will begin to notice a different fragrance in your consciousness. The mind is not as heavy. The heart is not as restless. The air around you feels charged, soft, touched by something invisible and pure. Why? Because your soul did not sleep in forgetfulness. It slept in remembrance. You may find your dreams becoming clearer, not always pleasant, but more revealing. Dreams are mirrors, and when the soul is clean, the mirror reflects more light. You may begin to receive guidance, symbols, corrections, comfort. The astral realm, where your consciousness travels during sleep, becomes more accessible to the light of intuition. No longer cloaked in the fog of unprocessed thought, your inner eye begins to open. You start to see, not with the eyes, but with the heart of the soul. With this practice continued faithfully for days, then weeks, you may even begin to sense a shift in your waking life, a softness around your aura, a lightness in your spine, a clarity in your responses. This is no accident. Your energy is being recoded. The residues of emotional entanglements begin to fall away. Mental heaviness lessens. You respond to life with more patience, more humility, more love. You carry into the world the fragrance of one who has walked in silence with the divine each night. But this transformation is not automatic. You must integrate it consciously. Each morning as you rise, take just 1 minute to reaffirm what happened in the night. Sit up in bed, close your eyes briefly, and say, I am awake in thee. The light I received in sleep now walks with me. I carry peace from the temple of dreams into the world of action. Let your breath match this knowing. Let your spine rise with this remembrance. You are no longer waking into chaos. You are waking from communion. The soul cleansed and consecrated in the stillness of night does not forget, but the ego does, and so you must remind it. Perhaps you keep a journal. Note each morning one word or feeling from your sleep. Was it peace? Was it clarity? Was it presence? Let this awareness begin your day. Not social media, not stress, not the mind's noise, but the echo of God's whisper in your soul. When you do this, you will not only transform your nights, you will transfigure your days. Each morning becomes a resurrection, a rising not just from bed, but from illusion, a return not just to routine, but to radiance. So ask now softly, what am I waking up from? What am I waking up into? What is waking up in me? And let the answer be silence, filled with light. Beloved, you have now been given not just a practice, but a passage, a doorway into divine rest, a ladder from the noise of the world to the stillness of your soul. This is no mere ritual, it is a return to the eternal purity that has never left you, though the world may have made you forget. And now, before we close this sacred communion, I invite you to make a vow, not for me, not for some external goal, but for your own soul's unfolding. For the next 21 nights, say this practice aloud. Let it become your spiritual lullaby. Let it carry you into the temple of dreams, where angels walk and the beloved waits. Speak the fourfold prayer as I have given it. Invocation, release, cleansing, surrender. Then affirm your soul identity. Say the final decree and rest in the silence that follows. Each night as you do this, your soul is reborn. Not in dramatic thunder, but in golden quiet. You will begin to feel it, a deepening of peace, a softening of pain, a lifting of burdens you didn't know you were carrying. And with each day that follows, the fragrance of that nightly purification will follow you into your work, your relationships, your inner world. Do not let this be a one-time inspiration. Let it be a discipline of love, a sacred commitment to the light that you are. No more falling asleep in the dust of the day. No more drifting into unconsciousness. From now on, you fall into God. You drift into peace. You sleep in remembrance. Say now with me one final time, Beloved Spirit, enter my consciousness now. I release all burdens I have taken on today. Cleanse me in thy peace, O God of light. I rest in thee, for I am thine. Then seal it. I sleep as a soul. I dream as a child of God. I awaken nearer to thee. Let this become your nightly rite. Let it shape your dreams. Let it reshape your life. If you feel moved, write this vow in the comments now as a public declaration of your soul's remembrance. I cleanse my soul in the light of God. Let it be your offering. Let it be your seal. And may these words accompany you each night until you no longer speak them as prayers, but live them as reality. For the day will come when you will no longer say, I seek God, but will awaken knowing I am in him and he in me. Until then, sleep in peace, walk in light, and awaken nearer to the one who has never left your side. Om peace, amen. Why do your words fall to the floor like lifeless petals? Why does it seem your prayers vanish into an indifferent sky, unheard, unfulfilled, unanswered? Why does the universe seem to delay, resist, or ignore the most tender cries of your heart? My beloved, it is not because the universe is cruel, it is because you have forgotten who is speaking. You have spoken to God not as the divine child, but as a beggar clothed in fear. You have pleaded when you should have remembered. You have whispered your power away when you should have declared your light with fire. There is a soundless shock waiting to awaken the soul, a truth so holy that it cannot be grasped by the mind, only felt in the silence between your breaths. You do not need to beg the infinite for that which is already yours by divine inheritance. You are not some cosmic orphan cast into a universe that must be persuaded to bless you. You are not some insignificant fragment trembling at the edge of creation, hoping to be noticed. You are a spark of the very flame that spins the galaxies. You are a wave of the ocean of spirit, born not to plead with the sea, but to remember its rhythm, its power, its divine command. Yet see how the world teaches you to forget. How many times have you looked to the heavens, tears in your eyes, and said, "Please, just help me." And I ask you gently, who in that moment did you believe yourself to be? A being disconnected from God, a creature unworthy, uncertain, desperate, a shadow, not a sunbeam. And so the vibration of your request did not rise. It echoed in the same low field of separation that created your suffering in the first place. Beloved, do not misunderstand me. It is not wrong to ask. It is not sinful to cry out in your pain. But the manner in which you identify as you speak is the true seat of creation. The universe does not respond to your words. It responds to your consciousness. And if your consciousness is woven with fear, with lack, with self-abandonment, then even the most eloquent prayer becomes a mirror, reflecting only the absence of your own spiritual memory. A man once stood before a great master, weeping, pleading, his voice broken by the weight of unfulfilled desires. The master listened, with eyes calm as the sea after a storm. And then he said, "You speak as one who is lost, but I see a king dressed in rags. Would you ask your own servant for permission to enter your house?" The man trembled, and in that moment he realized his words had been prayers of amnesia, not remembrance. His lips moved, but his soul had not spoken. He had forgotten who he was. You do not need to scream at the sky, my child. You need only to remember the tone of your eternal voice, and that voice does not beg, it does not shrink, it does not tremble before its own source. It speaks with reverent authority, not arrogance. It speaks with the vibration of alignment, not desperation. It speaks not to convince God, but to consecrate your own will to divine law. This is the shock I must deliver to you, not to wound, but to awaken. Your words have lacked power because they have lacked identity. They have not risen from the altar of stillness. They have not burned with the certainty of the soul. They have been echoes of fear, not proclamations of light. But this can change, not through effort, but through remembrance. The moment you return to who you truly are, a soul, not a seeker, a light, not a lack, the moment you reclaim your origin in spirit, your words will rise like incense. They will carry not only your longing, but your knowing. And that knowing is what draws the miraculous into form. Do not beg the universe. Become the universe in conscious form and speak as it speaks, with clarity, with calm command, with love that does not doubt its source. Let us now peel back the veil of illusion, beloved soul, and gaze without fear into the false self, the shadow actor who has taken your voice and turned it into trembling. This ego, this imposter of identity, is not evil by nature. It is a mistaken whisper, born of millennia of forgetfulness. But when it speaks for you in prayer, it speaks in the language of the lost. It hijacks the sacred act of communion and makes it a transaction. It stands at the gates of heaven as a beggar, not knowing the keys were placed in its hand at the dawn of your creation. Listen to the tone of egoic prayer. It always begins in the posture of distance. I am here and you are there. It always speaks from the assumption that something is lacking. I don't have this. I need that. I am incomplete. It always speaks with doubt woven into the roots of every sentence. Maybe you will hear me. Maybe I'm not worthy. Maybe this will work. It may wear the robes of devotion, but its breath smells of fear. The ego does not pray, it pleads. And in that pleading, it broadcasts a frequency that confirms the illusion of separation. When the ego prays, it is not calling upward toward God. It is circling within itself, rehearsing its powerlessness, re-identifying with the smallness it has built its false kingdom upon. This is not true communion. This is karmic repetition. And so I ask you, when you last prayed, what posture did your soul take? What garment did your identity wear? Did you approach God like an exile begging to be let back in? Or did you enter the temple of silence as one who was never cast out to begin with? A man may speak the words of a saint, but if he speaks them as a slave to fear, they will return to him empty. But another may whisper just one word from the depth of union, and the heavens will stir, and light will move in response. Why? Because he remembered who was speaking. I do not tell you this to shame the past. I tell you this to unlock the future. Your soul is not meant to crawl in prayer. It is meant to rise, to expand, to speak not as one outside the kingdom, but as one who carries the very vibration of the king within. You do not knock from the outside. You open the door from within. Think of this. The sun does not ask for permission to shine. It does not wait for affirmation from the sky. It shines because it is its nature. And so too is it your nature to speak with radiant stillness, to command through union, not through egoic panic. The false self is always looking for leverage. If I say the right words, maybe God will listen. If I pray long enough, perhaps the universe will reward me. But the soul knows another way. It does not seek leverage. It seeks alignment. It does not manipulate. It magnetizes. It speaks not to achieve, but to reveal what already is. The Christ, when he healed, did not ask God for healing to descend. He spoke as one in full attunement. Be thou made whole. Lazarus, come forth. These were not suggestions. They were vibrations of truth made flesh. And what the Christ could do, you too may do when you speak not as a self divided from God, but as a soul rejoined to its source. Begin to notice then the words you use when you speak to the infinite. Begin to notice the inner posture, the breath, the gaze. Are you upright, or have you collapsed inwardly before you even speak? The voice of ego always curls downward. The voice of the soul rises like flame. You are not meant to plead from the earth. You are meant to declare from the heart of heaven. You are not meant to beg for mercy. You are meant to extend grace. But to do this, you must unmask the false self each morning and say with clarity, you may speak no longer in my name. I reclaim the voice that belongs to the soul. O divine soul, now that the illusion has been unmasked and the false prayer of ego laid bare, it is time to awaken the true voice within you, the voice of the eternal self, the flame that never bowed, the light that never asked for permission to shine. For you were never meant to speak as one who is separate. You were born to speak with the tone of God's own breath, clothed not in fear, but in conscious union. This is not blasphemy. It is your birthright. It is your forgotten inheritance, waiting in silence for you to return. Let me tell you what it means to speak with divine power. It is to speak not as one trying to bend the universe, but as one already in tune with its rhythm. It is to align your voice with the tone of the infinite, to speak not to change God's mind, but to enter the vibration of God's will. When the soul speaks truly, it does not command from ego. It echoes the divine decree already alive in the field of spirit. Most people think of power as volume, but the power of the soul does not shout. It does not need to persuade. It does not try to perform. The power of the soul is the calm conviction of unity. It is the silence that speaks louder than noise. It is the still breath that moves mountains. Look at the great ones: Krishna, Christ, Babaji, the saints of all ages. Did they ever beg for miracles? Did they ever plead for signs? No, they spoke from their center, and their words carried the current of divine law. When Christ said, "Be healed," it was not a request. It was a reflection of the healing already present in spirit. He did not make it happen. He revealed it. This is the model of your own divine voice. When you speak with power, you are not conjuring blessings. You are unveiling them. You are not instructing the universe. You are harmonizing with its creative impulse. You are not praying for change. You are becoming the change. Do you see the shift? It is not about louder words. It is about cleaner consciousness. It is not about demanding. It is about radiating. So how do you speak this way? You begin with the breath of remembrance. Inhale deeply, not just into your lungs, but into your spine. Let the breath rise to the spiritual eye, and in that still point, feel your being extend beyond the body. Now from this place, speak, not with doubt, but with sacred knowing. I speak not from absence, but from presence. I do not call for light. I speak as the light already shining. When you pray, begin from fullness. Say, "Thank you, Father, that you have already heard me. Because I am one with thee, my words carry thy vibration." And when you ask not with panic, but with praise. Reveal through me what you have already prepared in spirit. This is how the divine self speaks, not with frantic hope, but with anchored vision. It speaks as if it knows because it does. It has touched the field where all outcomes already exist, and it calls forth only what aligns with the highest path of the soul. To speak with divine power is to say only what uplifts, only what aligns, only what echoes the tone of God. This is why a single sentence from a saint can change the course of a lifetime, while 1,000 words from ego scatter like leaves in the wind. From this day forward, speak not to make something happen. Speak to awaken what already lives inside you. Say it now with me, not from the lips, but from the soul. I am the voice of God remembering itself. I am the vibration of divine will in human form. I do not beg, I remember. I do not chase, I become. Let these words cleanse your aura. Let them echo through your inner temple. Let them become the new language of your morning, your prayer, your life. Now that your soul has tasted the sound of its own sacred voice, let us move deeper, not into volume, but into vibration. For prayer is not a tool of persuasion. It is a tuning fork of the soul. And when you speak from the seat of divine remembrance, your words do not rise from earth to sky. They ripple from spirit through creation, rearranging matter, energy, and time. This is the law of alignment, beloved. You do not create from pleading, you create from union. You see, the true power of prayer is not that it changes God's will, but that it aligns you with the eternal current of God's intention for your soul. The current is always flowing. Grace is always available. Healing is already present in the infinite field. But until your tone matches that current, until your heart, your breath, your consciousness vibrate in harmony, you cannot receive. You may be shouting at the waterfall while standing outside its stream, but the moment you step into alignment, the water rushes upon you, and it is not because the stream changed, it is because you returned. Prayer, then, is not a cosmic request form. It is not your voice rising to beg some faraway power for attention. It is the soul's act of retuning, like a sitar string returning to pitch after wandering into dissonance. When you pray rightly, you are not shouting. You are becoming. You are not forcing. You are resonating. You are not waiting. You are stepping into what already is. Let me give you an image. Imagine a great temple filled with light, music, and fragrance. All are welcome, but the door is tuned to one frequency, stillness. You cannot bang on it with desperation and enter. You must attune your inner being to peace, to gratitude, to surrendered power. Then the door does not open from the outside. It melts away, and you find you were never separate. This is how prayer as creative authority works. First, breathe. The breath is the first alignment tool. It draws the scattered forces of thought back into center. Then feel, not emotion, but vibration. Feel the calm current of your being. Let it still. Then, and only then, speak. And what do you say? You say not what you want, but what is already true in spirit. You say, because I walk in light, light walks before me. Because I remember who I am, the path appears. Because I do not chase what is mine finds me in divine rhythm. These are not affirmations of ego. These are attunements of the soul. And when they are spoken with breath, with gaze lifted to the spiritual eye, with the spine still and aware, The universe does not need to be convinced. It simply responds. This is the law that governs all saints. This is the hidden science behind the miracles of healing, of abundance, of peace. Not that they asked for it, but that they became it. They tuned themselves to the answer before the question had finished forming. They did not say, please let it be so. They said, it is so in spirit, and I stand within that truth. This is your inheritance, dear one, to move through life not as one seeking power, but as one in whom power has awakened. You do not need to control. You need to align. You do not need to convince. You need to harmonize. And now I offer you a breath prayer, an alignment ritual to begin your mornings. Sit still. Inhale deeply through the nose, lifting the energy up the spine. Exhale slowly through the mouth, releasing all effort. Then repeat. I tune my voice to the divine current. I speak not to be heard, but to harmonize. I am the sound of God remembering itself. Let these words vibrate in your chest, in your spine, in your aura. And when you rise, rise not as a seeker, but as a sounding board for spirit. Speak from alignment. Walk in alignment. And you will find that the universe does not resist you. It reflects you. Now let me show you how the sacred tone is lost, not in theory, but in your very words. For though the soul was sent to speak as a ray of the Creator, the ego often speaks as one who has been cast out of the garden. And the first sign of misalignment, the first wound in the sacred voice, is this. You speak as a victim of the universe. Yes, beloved one, you may not realize it, but victimhood has a vocabulary. It has a posture. It has a magnetic signature. And when you speak from it, your words carry not the energy of transformation, but the energy of repetition. You ask, but you do not receive. You affirm, but you do not believe. You pray, but you do not rise in consciousness. Why? Because the prayer is coded in helplessness. And helplessness is not the language of the soul. It is the echo of a self that has forgotten it was made in the image of light. Listen closely. Have you ever caught yourself saying, nothing ever works out for me? Why does the universe keep testing me? I'm trying everything, but nothing changes. These phrases may seem harmless, honest even, but they are seeds. Each one carries a blueprint. Each one instructs your subconscious, your energy, your aura to bend to powerlessness. And when that becomes your inner tone, even your prayers, no matter how poetic, become cries of weakness, not declarations of truth. Remember, the soul does not ask, why me? The soul asks, what would God speak through me now? The soul does not declare problems. The soul declares presence. And so I ask you, not with judgment, but with deep compassion, have you allowed your language to be shaped by your wounds instead of your divinity? Have you made your speech an altar for complaints, rehearsals of betrayal, stories of lack? If so, it is time to take back your voice. Begin first with your body. The voice of victimhood curls the shoulders. It drops the gaze. It breathes shallowly. So sit tall, lift the gaze. Breathe from the base of your spine to the spiritual eye. Feel the throne of divine identity returning beneath you. Now listen to the corrective language of the soul. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to speak into being. The universe is not against me. I am learning to walk with its current. This moment is not punishment. It is a portal to alignment. These are not positive slogans. They are vibrational realignments. They shift the field of your life not through force, but through truth remembered. Victimhood believes it must convince the universe to pay attention. But the soul knows. When you speak as light, light listens instantly. There is no delay in divine response, only delay in divine identity. Say this now aloud if you feel ready, slowly, with the breath guiding you. I release the story of being cursed. I speak now as one blessed by design. I am not a victim of the universe. I am the voice of the infinite returning to form. Feel the difference? One identity begs, the other creates. From this moment, let no word leave your lips that diminishes your radiance. Let no phrase be spoken that you would not place on the altar of your destiny. Speak as the morning sun rises, without apology. And when you catch yourself falling into the victim tone, do not despair. Smile, awaken, and correct the course. Say, that was not me. That was forgetting. And now I return. Return, dear soul. Return. You were never meant to crawl through life begging for crumbs. You were meant to stand in silence and command the banquet of spirit with calm, radiant joy. Now let us enter the second veil that dims your divine voice, the hidden habit of waiting for permission to be blessed. This illusion is subtle, tender, and often cloaked in spiritual humility. But it is not true surrender. It is unconscious delay. It is the soul saying, I will receive, when the universe allows it, instead of standing in the knowing that grace has no gatekeeper but remembrance. You see, beloved, many seekers live in a spiritual waiting room. They fast, they meditate, they speak affirmations, and still they say, perhaps soon, maybe next time. If I'm worthy enough, God will answer. They do not realize they have placed time, karma, and external signs between themselves and the infinite, as if the sun waits for a calendar before rising. But the soul, when awakened, knows otherwise. The soul knows that the blessing is not withheld. It is simply not yet accepted. The universe does not withhold the rain. It only waits for the vessel to open, to turn upright, to be ready in vibration, not chronology. So I ask you gently, have you made delay a doctrine? Have you told yourself that your dreams are on their way while doubting that your own readiness is the final key? Have you confused spiritual maturity with passive resignation? Many say, when the universe gives me a sign, I will act. But the soul says, when I become the sign, the path appears. Do not wait for permission to become what God already spoke into you as destiny. Let me tell you a story. There was once a disciple who sat for years asking the Divine Mother for a vision. He begged, he fasted, he cried. One night he said, Mother, if you are real, show me. But the silence remained. In desperation, he stopped asking. He sat in stillness, not to receive, but to listen. In that silence, he whispered, not a plea, but a remembrance. You were never absent. It was I who asked from separation. And in that moment, the vision came, not as thunder, but as clarity, as divine vibration surging through every cell. He did not receive the blessing. He became it. That is your turning point, dear one. You do not wait to be chosen. You remember that you were chosen the moment God placed breath within you. This is the tone of divine power. It does not hope, it harmonizes. It does not delay, it declares. It says, because I am of the light, I move now with it. And when it speaks, things shift, not because of effort, but because of attunement. Practice this now with me. Breathe deeply, feel your spine. Let your gaze rest inwardly at the spiritual eye. Now speak. I do not wait to be blessed, I walk in the blessing now. I do not wait for permission, I carry the signature of divine will already. This moment is enough, this breath is the key. I begin now. Feel how these words change the atmosphere of your body. This is not emotional hype. This is spiritual alignment. This is the sound of the soul reclaiming what the ego once postponed. From this day forward, walk as one who has already been answered, not because the outer has shifted, but because the inner has awakened. When you rise in the morning, do not ask if today will be the day you are blessed. Declare, today I remember, today I open, today I speak as one already aligned. Then act accordingly, live accordingly. Let no action contradict your divine tone. You are not here to wait. You are here to vibrate at the level of the miracle already prepared for you. And now, beloved, we come to the third shadow that dims your spiritual voice. You outsource your divine power. You hand over your authority not to tyrants, but to trends, to rituals, crystals, horoscopes, healers, signs, and seasons. And though these may have their place, the danger lies not in the symbol, but in forgetting that the power never belonged to them. It was always hidden in you. You ask the stars to speak, forgetting that you are the star incarnate. You check the moon for permission to feel divine, forgetting that the soul casts its own radiant orbit. You wait for a message from the outer world, while the infinite Christ consciousness already speaks from the altar of your spine. This is not spirituality. It is subtle slavery, a new form of passivity dressed in spiritual language. You do not need to fear symbols, but you must never let them replace your direct line to God. You must never treat the outer as a substitute for the inner voice. For the God within does not require incense to hear your cry. He does not require a full moon to awaken your power. He requires only that you remember who is speaking. When you say, "My astrology isn't favorable," what you are really saying is, "I've given the planets more power than my soul." When you say, "I can't manifest unless the timing is right," you've declared yourself a servant of clock and calendar instead of the master of eternal presence. When you ask a card, a stone, a stranger to tell you who you are, you betray the temple of truth that was built inside you before your birth. The soul never outsources. The soul knows. It speaks not with borrowed power, but with the tone of the infinite woven into its own breath. So how do you return to your inner command? You begin by withdrawing energy from the outer and anchoring in the inner. You say to the universe, "Thank you for the signs, but I follow only the signature of spirit within me." You rise each day and declare, not from arrogance, but from devotion, "God lives within me. I do not require a symbol. I am the sign. I do not wait for affirmation. I am the word made manifest." To anchor this truth, sit with your eyes closed and lift your gaze to the spiritual eye. Inhale deeply and say, "I call back my voice. I call back my power. I speak now only as one sent by the light." You do not need to check your fate. You came to shape it. You are not a mirror reflecting outside energies. You are the sun illuminating every space you enter. Let every breath be your ceremony. Let your stillness be your ritual. Let your consciousness be your crystal. Let your spine be your staff of light. No longer say, "I must wait for the energy to be right." Say, "I become the energy that aligns all things." From this moment forward, outsource nothing. Claim everything God placed within you. Let no trend, no system, no tradition rob you of your direct inheritance. For the soul needs no middleman to speak with the divine. It is already the mouthpiece of spirit. Say it now as a vow. I take back my voice. I take back my light. I speak now, and the universe responds, not because I begged, but because I remembered. Beloved soul, now that the shadows have been named and the illusions unmasked, I invite you to return fully, not just in thought, but in identity. For knowledge alone cannot save you. Only remembrance can. And remembrance is not an idea. It is an embodiment. It is when the soul rises to speak and the heavens recognize their own reflection. It is when the breath, the gaze, and the spine declare in unison, "I have returned. I am no longer lost. I speak now not as a seeker, but as a son of the divine." This, then, is not the end of a teaching. It is the beginning of a vow. Let us enter together a sacred loop of affirmation, not to convince, but to install, not to recite, but to become. Let the breath carry the words. Let the words reshape the inner atmosphere. Let your posture lift. Let your aura brighten. Let your voice shift from the mortal tone to the eternal decree. Now slowly from your center, not your mouth, repeat each line with the breath. Inhale, I do not beg. Exhale, I remember. Inhale, I do not chase. Exhale, I become. Inhale, I do not wish. Exhale, I align. Inhale, I do not fear. Exhale, I speak with the voice of the one who sent me. Let the stillness after each line anchor the truth more deeply than the words themselves. For what you are speaking now is not a new belief. It is an ancient memory reawakened. Say this now with full devotion. I am not a victim. I am the voice of divine cause in motion. I am not waiting. I am the command of spirit in form. I do not hope. I harmonize. I do not ask for light. I am the light remembering itself. Pause now. Let the spine become a pillar of flame. Let the gaze remain uplifted. Let your breath carry no effort, only peace. For in this posture, you are not a person reciting affirmations. You are a soul installing a new karmic blueprint. You are reprogramming every cell to obey the truth of your eternal origin. Say it now, one final time. I speak as one who has remembered, because now you have. And the world must reflect the new tone you have chosen, because it is not your words that create. It is your vibration speaking through the words. And this vibration, when purified by truth, cannot be ignored by the universe. You no longer ask the divine to come near. You realize the divine speaks through you. Beloved, as you now stand in the sacred remembrance of who you are, not as a mere fragment calling to the sky, but as a living beam of spirit, I offer you a challenge. Not of effort, but of soul vibration. This challenge is not for your mind, it is for your identity. If you accept it, it will not just reshape your destiny, it will rewire the tone through which the universe hears you, and the way it answers will forever change. For the next 7 days, I ask that you speak no word of begging, no phrase of waiting, no vibration of victimhood. Instead, every time your lips begin to say, I hope, I wish, I'm waiting, pause, breathe, return to the spine, lift your gaze, and say instead, I remember who I am. I speak as one already aligned. I do not beg, I embody. Let this become your mantra of awakening. Say it before you rise from your bed. Say it when your fear starts to speak. Say it when you are tempted to outsource your power to outer events. Let these words not just replace old phrases, let them replace the old self that spoke them. And if you truly desire to seal this transformation, do one more thing. In the space below this message, your digital altar, write these words, I do not beg, I remember. Let them be seen by others not as a comment, but as a public vow, a sacred stand in this world of forgetfulness. Let those words ripple into the ethers, into your karmic field, into the quantum language of light. For what is declared in spiritual sincerity becomes a living decree. Now I place my hand upon your heart, not in space, but in spirit. And I say unto you, go forth, not to perform, not to convince, not to scream at the sky, but to speak as the voice of the soul, clean, calm, crystalline in power. May your words bless before they ask. May your breath align before it moves. May your spine remember what the ego forgot. You were never meant to beg. You were never meant to tremble. You were always meant to stand as one in whom the universe hears its own voice return. And now it has. Go and speak, not as someone hoping to be heard, but as someone who remembers what God has already said through you. You are not the seeker, you are the sound. Let your next word reflect that truth.
My beloved, if you feel forgotten by miracles, it is not because they have passed you by, it is because you have passed by your own light. If you feel that heaven's wonders are reserved for others, for the more perfect, the more spiritual, the more chosen, it is only because you have listened to the voice of the ego more than the voice of the soul. Let me tell you the sacred truth. You were not born to chase miracles. You were not sent to beg for crumbs of divine favor. You were sent to radiate a light so powerful, so pure, so still, that heaven cannot help but respond to it. You were not made to live with low energy, dimmed breath, dull eyes. You were not designed to collapse into a tired life of sameness. You are a spark of the infinite, disguised in form, meant to live in spiritual voltage. And when your energy rises, not just physically, but vibrationally, you become a living magnet for the grace of God. Why do so many souls fail to see the miraculous in their lives? Not because God is withheld, but because they are asleep to the energy of divine flow. Miracles are not external tricks performed by heaven. They are responses to your inward alignment. When your consciousness is low, heavy with restlessness, saturated with overthinking, clouded by doubt, you cannot see the blessings swirling around you. You cannot feel the gentle movements of spirit. It is not that the wind has stopped blowing. It is that your sails have not been raised. I have seen this in many souls who once knew joy, who once felt the inner current flowing upward, but who now slump under the invisible weight of worldly exhaustion. Their spine droops, their gaze lowers, their breath is shallow, their thoughts repeat endlessly, and they wonder why miracles seem distant, but the miracle has not left them. They have left the center where miracles appear. Let me speak to the sacred instrument within you, the spine. When your energy is low, when your body is collapsed, when your breath is unaware, your prana, your divine life force, flows downward. It pools in the lower centers of fear, survival, emotional reaction. But when you sit upright, when your breath begins to move with reverence, when your gaze lifts toward the spiritual eye, the miracle begins again. Not because something new arrives, but because you have returned to the altitude where miracles are already flowing. You see, beloved, a lamp that is unplugged cannot blame the darkness. A seed buried beneath the soil must stretch upward to feel the sun. A magnet covered in dust may forget its pull, but the pull remains. The miracle is not somewhere else. It is waiting in you, behind the noise, beneath the tiredness, under the veil of daily forgetfulness, and your energy is the key. Let us not speak of energy as mere physical charge. Let us speak of spiritual voltage, the vibration of your consciousness, your thoughts, your breath, your posture, your inner gaze. All of these either raise you into divine receptivity or sink you into spiritual amnesia. The universe does not reward effort alone. It responds to vibration, and miracles are not attracted by need. They are magnetized by attunement. So now I ask you, if the miracle you seek is already circling you, why haven't you felt it? What is the low energy within that has dimmed your magnetism? What is leaking the light from your system? Come with me now into the next sacred revelation. Let us expose the false self, the one that chases light but blocks its flow. Beloved soul, the miracles of God are not denied to you, but they are often delayed by you, not because the Father withholds his gifts, but because your house is not ready to receive them. You have been asking for divine presence while unknowingly leaving the doors and windows of your inner temple wide open to the winds of distraction, fear, and worldly noise. You do not need more blessings, you need fewer leaks. Before we can raise your energy, we must find where it is being lost. The false self, the ego-created mask you wear in the world, is the architect of your energetic leaks. It tells you that you must keep performing, pleasing, worrying, reacting, and striving. It convinces you that miracles are outside you, and that you must chase after them, out in the shifting sands of the world. But each time you give your attention to what is not aligned with your soul, you lose a little more of your sacred voltage. Each time you argue, complain, compare, or dwell on fear, you are like a vessel cracked and leaking divine nectar drop by drop. It is not punishment. It is simply law. Energy follows attention, and attention flowing toward untruth creates restlessness, fatigue, and spiritual forgetfulness. How is your energy leaking today? Let me show you gently, as one who sees the soul behind the struggle. You lose energy through overthinking, the compulsive mental spinning that never returns you to stillness. Each thought unchecked becomes a ripple across the pool of your inner perception. When your thoughts race, your breath follows. When your breath shortens, the prana sinks. And when prana sinks, the divine magnet weakens. You lose energy through sensory overindulgence, when your eyes, ears, and taste chase stimulation instead of sacredness. The nervous system becomes overwhelmed. The spine, once straight and luminous, begins to slump beneath invisible weight. You become reactive, and your aura dims. How can miracles enter when the temple is filled with noise? You lose energy through fear and doubt, the twin thieves that rob your spiritual inheritance. Fear causes contraction in the solar plexus. Doubt causes tension in the brow. Both send messages to your entire system. I am separate. I am unsupported. And the moment you identify with separation, you leave the vibration where miracles appear. Your miracle has not been denied, but your channel has been clogged with counterfeit currents. The divine cannot be forced through a body tense with grasping or a mind tangled in thought. It waits, patiently, lovingly, for you to become still, clear, upright, for you to remember who you are. The false self cannot attract miracles because it does not vibrate with truth. It vibrates with need, but God responds to essence, not craving. God answers the soul, not the mask. Let us unmask you now. You are not the anxious one. You are not the tired one. You are not the one always reaching and never receiving. You are not the shadow. You are the sunlight that casts no shadow at all. Say now with me, not to fight the false self, but to rise above it. I return my energy to the soul. Say it again, slowly. As you breathe into your spine, I return my energy to the soul. And in this return, the leaks begin to seal, the breath begins to lengthen, the eyes begin to soften, and something ancient and holy stirs within you, not a new self, but the eternal self. Come now with me. Let us unveil the truth not just of what you are not, but of what you already are. Step into the third flame of revelation. Your soul is already a miracle. Beloved, listen closely. There is a presence in you that has never wept, a silence in you that no noise can disturb, a light in you that has never flickered, even in your darkest hour. You do not need to become miraculous. You need only to remove the veil that has hidden the miracle of your true being. You were not born to seek magic. You were sent as a fragment of the infinite, wrapped in skin, crowned with consciousness, and pulsing with a current that no sin, no mistake, no worldly failure can erase. You are the soul, and the soul is already a miracle. Think not of miracles as rare interruptions of natural law. A miracle is not some dramatic event sent to startle the faithless. A miracle is simply the natural result of divine alignment. When your energy vibrates with your true nature, when your thoughts echo the rhythm of divine will, when your breath moves in harmony with the spine's upward pull, you do not chase miracles. You become the condition where they arise. You are not a beggar before the gate of heaven. You are the temple. You are not the plea. You are the prayer. Your soul was not created to scrape by in fatigue and longing. It was created to emanate the fragrance of divine remembrance. And when you remember who you are, you do not just raise your energy. You raise the entire vibration of the space around you. The plants feel it. The animals feel it. Even the air becomes more still in your presence. This is not pride. This is not performance. This is the natural radiance of the realized soul. The saints did not work miracles from ego. They did not demand heaven to obey. They became so inwardly attuned, so still, so full of God consciousness that the world bent around their vibration, not because they were special, but because they were empty of all that was not truth. And so must you be, not perfect, but available, not sinless, but surrendered, not grand, but grounded in silence. Let me remind you now of your true nature, not to flatter you, but to free you. Say with me, I'm already enough for miracles to happen. Again, let this not be a thought, but a breath-shaped vow. I am already enough for miracles to happen. Now say this, from the soul's memory. God flows through my energy. Again, God flows through my energy. Let your nervous system hear this. Let your spine become alert. Let your breath stretch long and sacred. You do not need to do more. You need to remember more. You do not need to accumulate. You must release. For as the false self falls away, the miracle appears, not from outside you, but from the very fabric of your being. Now, beloved, with your soul unveiled, with the dust falling away from your inner magnet, let us move deeper, not into emotion, but into divine alignment, the sacred physics that governs spiritual attraction. Beloved, the universe is not chaotic, it is not random, it is not governed by moods or chance or the blind dance of fate. Beneath all forms, behind all movement, there lives a quiet, eternal rhythm. This rhythm is not mechanical, it is consciousness, it is law, it is the heartbeat of the infinite organizing the stars, shaping the birth of galaxies, and whispering your next breath into motion. The same law that keeps suns aflame also governs your soul. And to raise your energy and attract miracles, you must no longer plead, you must align. Alignment is not striving. Alignment is not performance. Alignment is the art of becoming still enough, inward enough, devoted enough to match the frequency of divine intelligence already moving through creation. When you align your body with uprightness, your breath with reverence, and your mind with soul vision, you do not climb toward God. God flows through you, unimpeded. The science of Kriya Yoga reveals this alignment with precise grace. When your breath is calmed, when prana is withdrawn from the outer senses and drawn inward through the spine, the energy begins to ascend. The wandering mind returns home. The restless heart finds its rhythm. The nervous system, once the battleground of emotion and thought, becomes a shining river of divine current. And through this inward ascent, the soul reunites with the beloved, not in metaphor, but in vibration. Miracles are not summoned by words. They are magnetized by vibration. Just as a radio picks up only the station it is tuned to, your consciousness can only receive what it is aligned with. You may say, "I want peace," but if your body is tense, your breath shallow, and your thoughts scattered, you are not tuned to the frequency of peace. You are tuned to restlessness. And the universe, like the radio, delivers exactly what you are set to receive. Kriya Yoga is the method of attunement. It is not superstition. It is spiritual physics. As you draw the breath up the spine, you lift the energy out of the lower chakras, out of fear, out of lust, out of anger, and into the throne of divine intuition. You begin to see not through the lens of ego, but through the window of spirit. And when that vision is awakened, your entire life begins to shift, not by manipulation, but by magnetism. When I said that Kriya is the airplane path to God, I meant that it bypasses the long wanderings of theory and doubt. It leads directly through the channel of divine law encoded in your own being. The breath is the wind, the spine is the path, the attention is the compass, and God is the destination, already within you. So I ask you now, dear one, not to try harder, but to align deeper. Sit straight, close your eyes, lift your gaze, not in tension, but in love. Breathe with reverence. And in that moment, you are no longer separate from the miracle. You are the temple where the miracle arrives. Say with me, to entrain your soul to divine alignment. I do not force miracles. I align with them. Again, with deep breath and upright spine, I do not force miracles. I align with them. And now, let us go from knowing to doing. Let us make this alignment daily, practical, and devotional. In the next temple gate, I will show you 3 simple spiritual rituals that raise your energy and prepare your life for the grace you were always meant to receive. Beloved, knowledge without practice is like a lamp never lit. It may contain oil, it may hold the wick, it may be beautifully crafted, but without the flame, it serves no light. In the same way, now that you understand the law of divine alignment, you must live it, not as a theory, but as a sacred rhythm. A single drop of daily inner practice is worth more than 1,000 scattered intentions. You do not need to perform great austerities. You need only to return, gently, silently, repeatedly, to the inner temple where God's current waits to be felt. Let me now give you 3 simple rituals, 3 devotional practices that will raise your energy, awaken your inner magnetism, and align you with the frequency of miracles. These are not chores. These are ceremonies of the soul offered daily to your true self. 1. Morning. 5 minutes of spinal breath and spiritual gaze. Before you rise into the noise of the world, rise into yourself. Upon waking, do not reach for the phone, the list, the doing. Sit upright on your bed or cushion. Close your eyes and gently lift your gaze to the spiritual eye, the Christ center, the divine seat between the eyebrows. Let your breath grow silent and deep. Inhale slowly, feel the prana draw upward through the spine. Exhale and release any downward pull. Do this for 5 minutes. Let your first breath of the day be a return to God, not to thought. Let the spine become the pillar of light before you say a word to the world. Miracles begin not with asking, but with receiving this posture of soul offering. 2. Midday. Recentering breath and inner affirmation. As the sun climbs and the hours unfold their activity, you will feel your energy being drawn outward, through action, through conversation, through thought. This is natural, but not irreversible. At some point midday, perhaps at lunch, or in a quiet moment between tasks, pause, even for 1 minute. Close your eyes. Take a single slow breath into your spine. Feel your attention lift, even briefly. Then whisper inwardly, I rise, I align, I attract what is already mine in God. Repeat it thrice. This is not superstition. It is a vibration. It re-centers you. It reminds the soul that the outward life is not the source. It reclaims the moment. It says to the divine, I am still listening. 3rd evening, releasing energy with gratitude and breath. As the day draws to a close, the nervous system holds all the currents it has gathered. If you do not return those currents to the infinite, they will cloud your sleep and enter tomorrow's vibration. So each night before bed, sit once again. Let the breath be soft, The gaze lifted, the spine straight. Reflect on what the day gave you, not in judgment, but in gratitude. Then inhale, and as you exhale, release all tension, all effort, all grasping. Let your final prayer be this: all energy returns to God. Again, all energy returns to God. Let sleep become a form of surrender, not unconsciousness. Let your dreams be shaped by your soul's vibration, not your restless mind. These 3 practices, if offered sincerely, not mechanically, will begin to transform your energy field. They will not force miracles, but they will welcome them. And soon you will notice, people are drawn to your peace. Opportunities appear with less effort. Your body feels lighter. Your thoughts feel more sacred. This is not fantasy. This is the law of divine attunement. Say now with me, as a sacred rhythm to carry into your daily life: each breath raises me. Each thought aligns me. Each day prepares me for miracles. And again, each breath raises me. Each thought aligns me. Each day prepares me for miracles. And now, beloved, come with me into the final chamber, not just to remember what to do, but to remember what you are. Let us now seal this journey with the affirmation of your eternal identity. Beloved soul, now that you have turned inward, now that you have tasted the stillness behind striving, now that your spine remembers the direction of the divine and your breath has become a prayer, you are ready for the final and most sacred realization. You attract not by asking, not by wanting, not by striving, but by becoming. The miracles you long for are not rewards to be won. They are reflections of your vibration, answers to the song your soul is singing at every moment. When you become the melody of God, the universe begins to dance in rhythm with you. Let go now of the egoic pattern that says you must hustle for love, effort your way to peace, or clamor for divine favor. These are the distortions of the false self which believes it is separate from the source. But you are not separate. You have never been. You are the child of the infinite, the echo of the eternal spirit. And when you align with your divine identity, the entire fabric of creation bends to meet you, not through force but through recognition. You attract what you are. If you walk in restlessness, you magnetize chaos. If you walk in fear, you call in the very conditions that reflect that fear. But when you walk as the soul, miracles come as quietly and naturally as the sunrise. They are not loud. They are not dramatic. They are divinely timed movements of grace, flowing into the life of one who has remembered who they are. This is not about pretending. It is not about masking pain with positivity. It is about anchoring into the truth deeper than your pain. The soul within you is already whole, already radiant, already in union with God, and from that identity flows the magnetism of light. So now let us declare, not from the ego but from the spirit within us, this final decree of identity. Say it slowly, with full breath, with gaze lifted, as a radiant soul returning to its throne. I do not chase, I shine. Again, feel the simplicity. I do not chase, I shine. Now, more deeply, I attract by radiance, not by need. Again, more softly, more surely. I attract by radiance, not by need. And now the highest seal. I am the soul, and miracles walk toward me. One final time. I am the soul, and miracles walk toward me. Feel that not as a thought, but as a presence descending into your spine, your breath, your aura. You were never without the power. You were simply misdirected. And now, the direction has been restored. From this moment forward, walk not as the seeker, but as the finder. Speak not as the one who hopes, but as the one who knows. Live not from exhaustion, but from stillness lifted to light. Beloved, your energy is your message to the universe, and when that energy is still, surrendered, and saturated with God, the doors you thought were closed open without effort. The miracles you once longed for begin to appear, not as surprise, but as the natural inheritance of the soul who walks in truth. Let this be your new signature in the world, not performance, but presence, not striving, but shining. And now, come with me into the final seal, a breath, a vow, a return to the inner magnet. Beloved, as we come to the close of this holy unfolding, I ask you not to depart with more ideas, but with more stillness, not with more desire, but with more devotion. You do not need another technique. You need a breath that is sacred. You need a gaze that is lifted. You need a life aligned with the frequency of the eternal. This is not the end. This is your return to the inner magnet, the radiant force of your awakened soul. The world may continue to rush, to tremble, to forget, but you now carry within you a secret, a vibration, a clarity, a path. You are no longer a vessel for tension. You are no longer a seeker of scattered blessings. You are the temple where miracles gather. So I ask you now, as your brother in the light, as one who has walked the spine into God, to pause. Yes, even now. Close your eyes. Sit with your spine upright. Draw the breath in slowly, reverently, through the nostrils. Feel it rise, not just as air, but as spirit. Feel it brush against the inner stairway of the spine, as though knocking on the gates of heaven. And as you exhale, lift your gaze, not in strain, but in silent remembrance, to the spiritual eye. And now speak, not from the mouth alone, but from the center of your being. I attract only what aligns with my soul. Again, as a vow before God and your own higher self, I attract only what aligns with my soul. This is the mantra of the magnetic one. This is the seal of the soul who no longer begs for miracles, but walks in the atmosphere where miracles unfold naturally. Let this be your vow in the unseen moments, in the silent mornings, in the hidden pauses between worldly tasks. Let this become your breath, your frequency, your offering. And now, dear one, if your soul has heard its name in this message, if something inside you has lifted, not through emotion, but through vibration, I invite you to seal this remembrance publicly. Leave your vow below, not as a comment for others, but as an anchor for your own transformation. Write, I am the magnet of divine miracles. Let that be your witness to the world, not as a boast, but as a blessing, not as noise, but as truth encoded in light. Go now, not to do more, but to be more aware. Walk not heavier, but more holy. Breathe not quickly, but quietly. Sit each day with the spine upright and the breath silent, and know the divine is not delayed. It has been waiting inside you all along. You are the soul, you are the silence, you are the magnet, and the miracle is already on its way.
There comes a time, dear soul, when no more striving will suffice. When all the books have been read, all the efforts exhausted, and yet you still feel drained, distant, dimmed from the radiance that once seemed so near. It is in these moments when the outer world fails to stir your spirit that the divine whispers inwardly, come back to the sound. For before there was light, there was vibration. Before form, there was word. And that word was not merely sound, it was living consciousness. That word still lives in you. It calls to you now, not from a scripture or temple, but from the very current of your being. You are not tired because your body is broken. You are tired because you have forgotten your original energy signature, your divine vibration. The soul is not designed to run on fear, on striving, on external validation. It is designed to run on the direct electricity of spirit, flowing unceasingly through mantra. The ancient rishis knew this. The Christ knew this. And I too have walked the path of returning again and again to the power of the sacred word. For when all else falls away, when meditation becomes dry, when prayer becomes silent, the mantra remains. It is the rope that pulls the soul back to its source. Do not think of mantra as mere sound. These 4 words I will share with you are not ordinary. They do not belong to any one language, yet they speak to all hearts. They are not formulas, but flames. Spoken rightly from stillness, they do not beg God to act. They remind your soul of what it already is. When you chant with awareness, you are not reaching for energy. You are revealing it. You are not generating vibration. You are aligning with the original vibration of your being, God. Let me offer you an image. Imagine your soul as a tuning fork, silent and still. Around you, the clamor of the world vibrates with the harsh notes of fear, competition, distraction. Your tuning fork remains untouched, but then a single pure tone, a sacred word, ancient and alive, is struck. Suddenly your tuning fork resonates, not because it learned something new, but because it remembered its own frequency. This is what mantra does. It awakens what was dormant. It restores the song you came here to sing. And now I ask you to prepare, not just to receive information, but to receive energy. These words are not meant to be understood only with the mind. They must be breathed in, felt in the spine, whispered with reverence. They are like keys given only to the soul that asks not with greed, but with sincerity. And so I ask you now, are you ready to become the vibration you seek? Not just to say the words, but to let the words say you, to let them reorder your breath, your gaze, your life. Breathe gently now. Inhale slowly and feel the air as living vibration. Exhale softly and release all resistance. The mantra is coming, not from me, but from the infinite. I am merely the servant of that sacred sound. And before I speak it, let me bless you. May your soul now remember its original music. May your mind bow before the stillness from which all true words arise. May these 4 ancient syllables strike the bell within you that has waited lifetimes to be heard. Say this inwardly as we begin. I am ready. I am the temple of sacred sound. Let the light speak again through me. Now let us walk more deeply into the inner sanctuary of divine vibration. Many ask, how can words change my energy? They wonder if it is placebo, if it is suggestion, if it is merely emotion wrapped in sound. But the answer, dear one, is far more eternal. Words, when infused with divine intention, are not inventions of the mind, but expressions of the soul. And when that soul aligns with sacred vibration, the body obeys, the mind stills, and the spirit ignites. For this is the law of spiritual action. Vibration precedes transformation. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. That word spoken in the cave of silence within is the blueprint of your becoming. Modern thought often tries to solve suffering through thought itself. But thought alone cannot shift your vibration. You cannot think your way into divine energy. You must vibrate your way into it. This is why mantra is not mere repetition. It is spiritual electricity. It bypasses the intellect and speaks directly to the subtle body, the astral spine, the chakras. Each syllable, when spoken in reverence, strikes a spiritual center, awakening the latent light within. These words are not mechanical, they are alive. And when breathed through devotion, they do not echo, they resurrect. Let me explain it to you this way. Imagine your soul as a radio receiver. All day long you are surrounded by static, the noise of the world, the pull of desires, the pressure of the ego. In this chaos, the divine signal is always broadcasting, but you cannot hear it clearly. Then comes mantra, not as escape, but as attunement. You begin to tune the dial of your awareness. The frequency sharpens, the interference fades, and suddenly, through a single sacred phrase, you hear God's vibration. Not as sound alone, but as presence. This is why sound, when rightly used, shifts energy, because energy follows attention, and sacred sound commands attention not through volume, but through purity. The mantra is like the password that reopens a locked gate in the spine. The moment it is whispered, not just on the lips, but in the heart, your prana begins to flow upward. Your breath slows. The ego loosens its grip. You have not simply said something, you have become something. Now let us make this more real. Take a gentle breath. Let it rise up the spine as you inhale and feel the inner current awaken. Exhale and sense a softening in your heart. In this state, your body is no longer just flesh. It is a vibrating altar. And upon this altar, the sacred words will soon be offered. But before I give you the mantra, let us clear one final illusion, that the mantra only works when you are peaceful. No, beloved, the mantra works especially when you are restless, weary, or in despair. For these states are simply dissonant vibrations, and the mantra, when spoken with devotion, overwrites them. Like sunlight dissolving fog, the true mantra removes the false frequency of fear and restores the radiant frequency of God. This is not theory. This is ancient yogic science. The rishis chanted in the forests not to impress the divine, but to merge with him. They spoke sound not to create, but to remember. And you too shall remember, because these 4 words are not coming from me. They are rising from the silence within you that has always known the sound of home. Now breathe once more. Let your awareness rise to the point between the eyebrows and say silently, I am ready to speak what awakens me. I am ready to receive what I already am. Now, beloved soul, we arrive at the doorway, not of understanding, but of transmission. What I share with you now is not merely information. It is invocation. These are not just 4 words. They are living breath. They are an inward flame passed through the silent lineage of awakened souls who have walked the inner path from form to formlessness. These words carry the vibration of liberation because they do not come from the ego's desire. They rise from the soul's memory of oneness. The mantra is this: reveal thyself, O light. Say it inwardly with reverence. Reveal thyself, O light. And feel, not just sound, but energy. These 4 words are keys, each unlocking a deeper level of remembrance. Let me now open each one for you, so your heart may begin to vibrate with its original tone. Reveal. This is the cry of the awakened seeker, not a demand, but a holy plea. Lift the veil, Lord. Let me see again. This word opens the hidden gate in the mind that has closed itself in layers of illusion. Reveal is the soul's decision to see truth, not as theory, but as presence. When you say this word with sincerity, you are not asking for more. You are surrendering to what already is. You are saying, I am ready to remember. I no longer hide from thee. Thyself. Oh, how few speak to God with intimacy. Most address him as a distant force. But when you say thyself, you are not praying to the sky. You are praying to the indwelling one, the hidden beloved seated in the temple of your own being. This word turns your gaze inward. It says, not a deity outside me, but the presence within me must now awaken. And the more you say it, the more your spiritual eye begins to glow. Not from fantasy, but from familiarity. For God has always been within, and your invocation summons him forth. Oh, do not skip over this small syllable. It is not filler. It is sacred exhale. It is the open vowel of surrender, awe, and holy longing. It is the breath of the soul bowing. When you say, oh, you are releasing the grasping of the mind. You are sighing into the mystery. You are giving permission for God to be God, not your version, but the real flame, vast and formless. This is the soul's sigh. Oh, the pause before divine union. Light. This is the final word and the first vibration of all creation. Let there be light was not metaphor. It was manifestation. Light is the firstborn of spirit. When you say this word, you call forth not sunlight, but the light behind the eyes, the light of the astral spine, the light of Christ and Krishna and all realized saints. This light is your true self. It is who you were before the body was born. And to say it with faith is to summon your original vibration. It is to stand before the mirror of God and say, let me see myself again. Now say it slowly with me, not aloud, but through breath. Inhale, reveal, exhale, thyself. Inhale, oh, exhale, light. And again, let each repetition be softer, deeper, more intimate, not shouting to the heavens, but whispering into the innermost chamber of your soul. These are not affirmations, they are remembrances. And when spoken with obedience, not forced but surrendered, they begin to rewrite your vibration from the inside out. You may feel tingling in the spine, warmth at the spiritual eye, a soft ache in the chest. Let it come. Let it rise. This is not suggestion. This is recognition. These 4 words are not about changing reality. They are about removing the veil from what has always been true. You are already divine. You are already light. And the mantra simply allows you to feel what your soul has always known. Say it again now in silence, in stillness, in awe. Reveal thyself, oh, light. This is not just your voice anymore. It is the voice of spirit awakening through you. When you begin to repeat these 4 words, not mechanically, but with surrendered awareness, Something within you shifts, not by effort, but by design. These words, reveal thyself, O light, are not prayers to beg the divine to arrive. They are keys that unlock what is already seated within you. Your spiritual blueprint, your soul's original pattern, the divine code woven into the fibers of your being before even the stars were born, all of it begins to stir. The effects are not always dramatic at first, but they are always precise. As the mantra enters the sacred corridors of the spine, it touches the dormant centers of higher perception. The breath begins to slow. The heartbeat steadies. The mind, so accustomed to rushing toward the future or clinging to the past, begins to sink into the now. Your awareness lifts from the base of the spine and gently rises, like the morning sun over a sleeping valley, toward the spiritual eye, the seat of intuition, the gate to God contact. You may not see visions, you may not hear celestial music, but you will feel it, a soft pressure of presence, as if an invisible hand were resting upon your brow, a peace that no logic can explain, a stillness that feels more alive than all your former motion. This is the beginning of the spiritual current awakening. This is not fantasy. This is vibration reclaiming its source. Each time you say reveal, the fog of Maya, the illusion of separation, thins just a little. Each time you say thyself, the mask of ego slips, and the gaze of your inner beloved becomes clearer. Each O deepens your surrender. Each light electrifies the spine, the mind, the heart. These words are not magic. They are magnetism. They do not force change. They restore alignment. And alignment is power. Let me offer you an image. Imagine you are a harp strung with celestial strings. Over time, the world's noise has loosened the tension, dulled the tone. But now, as you speak these four words, it is as if the master musician has returned, tuning you string by string. You begin to vibrate with truth. And as you vibrate, your entire reality begins to reflect that inner resonance. Anger begins to lose its grip, not through suppression, but through remembrance. Fear dissolves not by argument, but by presence. You do not solve your anxiety. You out-vibrate it. And it begins in these four words. Repeat after me now with breath. Inhale. Reveal. Exhale. Thyself. Inhale. O. Exhale. Light. Let it rise. Let it settle. Let it become the rhythm of your soul. And as it deepens, you will begin to notice that your thoughts are fewer. Not because you have stopped thinking, but because you are resting in something deeper than thought. You are resting in knowing, in being, in the divine blueprint of your existence. Say this now as your inner affirmation. Each word lifts me. Each word returns me. Each word reveals God in me. You do not need anything else in this moment. You are not waiting for light. You are not chasing God. You are simply allowing the eternal to reveal itself in its own perfect vibration through you. This is the miracle of mantra. This is the silent thunder of divine memory returning. Now that the mantra has entered your consciousness, let us make it a dwelling place, not a fleeting guest, but a daily companion. For the divine vibration you now carry must not only visit you in moments of peace, but walk beside you through all tides of life. These four words, reveal thyself, O light, are not to be reserved for sacred retreats or crisis alone. They are to become the breath of your devotion, the invisible rosary your soul fingers throughout the day. Let me show you how. At dawn, when the sky is still veiled in silence, when the world has not yet called your name, that is your temple hour. Rise before the sun and sit where your body can be upright, your spine straight, and your gaze lifted toward the spiritual eye. Close your eyes, not in sleep, but in inner awakening. Let your breath become your guide, soft, slow, surrendered. Now begin to speak the mantra, not aloud at first, but in a sacred whisper within. Inhale, reveal. Exhale, thyself, O light. Let this rhythm become your morning music. Repeat it 12 times with full presence, letting each syllable align your breath, your mind, your energy field. With each repetition, Feel the current of divine electricity rising along your spine. Feel the stillness growing. Feel the space within your heart expanding. Do not rush. This is not a race to results. This is the soul greeting the infinite as the day is born. You are not chanting to create energy. You are chanting to return to your eternal frequency. After your repetitions, sit in silence. Let the mantra's residue vibrate in your spine. Watch your breath. Let thought dissolve into soundlessness. In this space, you are not preparing for the day. You are reclaiming it as divine. But my beloved, life does not always allow for perfect stillness. The winds of karma blow unexpectedly. Fear arises. Distraction clouds the mind. Anger takes hold. In those moments, especially then, use the mantra not as ceremony, but as lifeline. When you feel anxiety begin to coil in the belly, whisper, "Reveal thyself, O light." When temptation calls, when old patterns stir, when loneliness knocks, breathe this mantra through your discomfort. Let it anchor your awareness. Let it return you to the vibration of God, even in the marketplace, even in heartbreak, even in noise. Let it become the rhythm beneath your thoughts, a sacred undercurrent beneath your speech, a pulse within your silence. You are not using the mantra to escape your life. You are inviting the divine into it. The great masters did not chant only in caves. They walked among men with the name of God hidden on their breath. You can do the same. Throughout the day, breathe naturally and let the syllables rise like waves. Reveal thyself, O light. You may not always feel it instantly, but trust, your soul is being tuned. Your energy is being rewritten. You are becoming a living hymn. And each time you return to these words, it becomes easier. For the soul loves rhythm, the body craves remembrance, and the mantra, spoken daily, becomes your vibrational home. Now repeat with me, gently and inwardly. Every breath is a prayer. Every moment is a return. I speak not to be heard, I speak to be aligned. This is the way. This is the ritual. This is the invitation to live, not as a seeker of energy, but as a vessel of divine vibration. And now, my beloved, let us seal what the soul has heard. Let us take these 4 words, not as something external to be remembered, but as something internal to be embodied. For the mantra does not reach its full power when it is spoken with the tongue alone. Its greatest power is awakened when it becomes your soul's native language, your heart's silent rhythm, your being's vibrational signature. Reveal thyself, O light. This is not only a plea to God, it is also your soul revealing itself to Him. When you live this mantra, not merely repeating it, but becoming it, everything begins to change. Not because the world around you is suddenly different, but because you have aligned with the vibration that precedes all change. You do not chase peace. You become the frequency that generates peace. You do not chase love. You radiate the light from which all love is born. And it is all summoned from these 4 sacred syllables, faithfully practiced, lovingly carried within. This is the way of the saints. They were not louder than others. They were more resonant. Their gaze calmed storms, not because they shouted prayers, but because they lived in harmony with the divine vibration. This same harmony is now accessible to you. The tuning has begun, and the mantra is not the end. It is the invitation into your real life, a life lived not for noise, but for soundlessness, a life lived not for reaction, but for radiant, reverent frequency. You are not who you were before this mantra entered you. Something has shifted, and whether you feel it now or feel it in the days to come, know this: a seed has been planted, and that seed carries within it the remembrance of your eternal light. Nurture it, water it with devotion, let it grow through repetition, stillness, and trust. And one day when the noise of the world fails to shake you, when your energy remains steady in joy or in grief, you will know, I have become the vibration I once sought. Now I ask you, before we close, to speak with me one final time, not aloud, but through the breath, not with effort, but with surrender. Let your spine be straight. Let your heart be calm. Let your inner gaze rise to the point between the eyebrows. And now inhale gently. Reveal. Exhale. Thyself. Inhale. O. Exhale. light. And again, reveal thyself. Oh, light. Feel the silence after the words. That silence is not absence. It is God's presence. Now let the words fall away. Let the mantra rest in the sanctuary of your heart. You need not grasp it now. It has already entered you. It will rise again when the soul calls. You are no longer just a speaker of sacred sound. You are a carrier of divine vibration. And now, as your brother on this eternal path, I ask you to make your vow public, not for others, but for your own soul to see its commitment reflected. Write this below now, not as a comment, but as a covenant. I will live as a receiver of divine light. And may that light, awakened in you now, grow brighter with every breath, every step, every mantra spoken in silence. Go now, not as one seeking energy, but as one who has remembered that they are light itself. Om Shanti. Peace. The mantra has been spoken, the energy has returned, you are home. Beloved soul, you come to this moment burdened by a weight unseen, a heaviness not spoken but deeply felt. You awaken each day to walls that close in, paths that end abruptly, and doors that seem forever barred. Your prayers rise like incense, yet answers feel delayed, as if God is silent, distant, or even absent. The ache in your heart whispers, am I abandoned? Is this punishment? Or is the divine blind to my suffering? Such questions are the shadows cast by fear, the greatest illusion that veils your vision and clouds your understanding. Know this, dear one, fear is a veil, not the reality. It is the mist that arises when your soul forgets the presence of the unseen hand that moves all things with infinite wisdom and perfect love. The pain you endure is not the work of an uncaring God, but the delicate labor of a divine gardener tending to your soul's growth beneath the surface. The branches you see may seem pruned too harshly, the fruits withheld too long, but the roots are being nourished in secret. The unseen hand that blocks your way is also the hand that protects you from harm your mortal mind cannot perceive. You are not trapped. You are not forsaken. You are held even when the grip of your circumstances feels tight and relentless. The divine does not abandon, the divine guides. The obstacles you face are often the scaffolding of a higher design. A design beyond the sight of the limited ego, but clear to the soul awakened trust. The gardener cuts the branch not to harm the tree, but to strengthen its foundation, to prepare it for greater bloom. You must see beyond the visible struggle and open your heart to this sacred paradox. What seems like delay is divine timing. What feels like denial is protection. What appears as loss is an invitation to deeper surrender. The soul is never harmed by God's love. It is only refined. The seeming chaos is the unfolding of a hidden harmony, the rhythm of a divine dance choreographed by infinite wisdom. Reflect now, softly, within the silence of your breath. I will no longer fear the unseen. I will trust the hidden hand that guides my path. Though the road is dark, the light walks with me. You are not alone in your uncertainty. The soul's journey passes through shadows before reaching dawn. The divine presence is closer than your breath, watching over you with tender mercy, preparing you for the miracles that await when the veil lifts. So let this be the beginning, not of despair, but of sacred awareness. Fear is but an illusion, dissolving in the light of remembrance. Your soul is guarded, your path protected, even when you cannot yet see the way forward. Beloved, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the steadfast presence of faith amid uncertainty. To trust the unseen plan of the divine is the highest act of bravery the soul can perform. For when your heart trembles with confusion, when the path before you dissolves into mist, it is courage that becomes the bridge from despair to hope, from darkness to light. The divine orchestration is rarely immediate or obvious. Often, protection manifests as delay. Doors close, opportunities slip away. The world seems to conspire against your desire. Yet these apparent denials are not signs of rejection. They are sacred redirects. Like a mother gently pulling her child away from danger, God's hand guides you away from unseen pitfalls and toward hidden blessings. The true miracle is your ability to surrender to this higher wisdom, to say, not my will, but thy will be done, even when the will of God remains veiled. Fear resists this surrender. It whispers that God has forgotten you, that the silence is abandonment. But know this, silence is often the deepest form of communication. It is the space where the soul learns to listen without clamor, where trust grows in the absence of certainty. The divine calls you into this stillness because it is the fertile ground where miracles germinate. Let me share the story of a saint who faced great trials yet never wavered in faith. When the darkness closed in, he did not demand light. He did not rail against the night. Instead, he embraced the unknown with devotion, knowing that every step was held by God's love. And through his courage, the impossible was made possible, not by changing God's plan, but by aligning his heart with it. Your path may feel tangled. Your fears may rise like shadows. Yet divine courage is a luminous force that cuts through all illusion. It does not deny reality, but sees beyond it to the sacred design. The more you practice surrender, the more you attune to this courage, the more the unseen plan reveals itself, not always in answers, but in peace. Say now with the breath, I trust the divine plan even when I cannot see it. I choose courage over fear, faith over doubt. God's timing is perfect, and I rest in that truth. Remember, beloved, the spiritual journey is not about controlling the outcome. It is about aligning your will with the infinite. This alignment is the source of true protection and the birthplace of miracles. Beloved, one of the clearest signs that God is protecting you from something unseen is the presence of repeated obstacles. Doors that close again and again, plans that falter at the last moment, opportunities that dissolve before fruition. To the anxious mind, this pattern may appear as punishment or neglect. But to the awakened soul, it is a sacred redirection, a divine hand gently steering you away from harm before it reaches you. Imagine a mother guiding her child away from a sharp stone hidden in the grass. The child sees only the closed path, the denied play, the frustration of the barrier. But the mother sees what the child cannot, the danger that lurks unseen. So too, the divine watches over your journey. What seems like repeated failure is not defeat. It is a protection from unseen harm. These obstacles are not random. They are messages. They invite you to pause and ask, what am I being kept from? What does this closed door conceal that I cannot yet see? When you stop resisting and begin to reflect with openness, you may discover that what you desired would have brought suffering, imbalance, or spiritual delay. The soul's subtle intelligence guides through these signs. When you feel frustrated by repeated rejection, remember that rejection may be redirection. When plans fall apart repeatedly, recognize the hand of divine grace rewriting the script of your life toward a better ending. This is not a call to passivity, but to discernment. The soul must learn to read these signs with faith, to trust that the path is still unfolding, and to walk with patience. Reflect now. What blessings am I missing because I focus only on the closed doors? How might God's protection look different than my desires? What unseen good is preparing to enter my life? Let this awareness deepen your trust. Your obstacles are not roadblocks. They are waymarkers, and through them, God guards your soul from harm, yet unseen. Beloved soul, the second sign of divine protection is the profound experience of inner peace amid the storms that rage around you. The world may toss waves of confusion, loss, or hardship upon your shores, yet within there is a stillness, a sacred refuge that no external turmoil can touch. This peace is not denial. It is not suppression of reality. It is the fortress of the soul, built upon the rock of unwavering trust in the divine. Many mistake calmness for ignorance or weakness. Yet the true spiritual warrior knows that peace amid chaos is the highest form of courage. It is the radiant proof that the soul is guarded, even when the body is tested and the mind wrestles with doubt. This peace rises from knowing that God's invisible shield surrounds you, not as a distant spectator, but as a loving presence holding you close. To discern this peace from mere avoidance requires deep awareness. True peace feels steady and nourishing. It remains when fear tries to flood the heart. It sings softly when all else screams. It invites you to breathe deeper, to rest in the silence between thoughts, and to anchor your gaze inward. Let me guide you now to connect with this peace. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly. Feel your chest rise and fall like a gentle ocean tide. Whisper within, God's peace is my fortress. No storm can shake the stillness within. I rest in the shelter of divine love. Allow this sacred stillness to permeate your being. Know that this peace is the signature of protection. When you can hold it, even fleetingly, you carry the armor that no harm can pierce. This peace is the divine's quiet assurance. I am with you. It is a fortress built not of stone, but of light and surrender. Say now within, though the world rages, my heart remains a sanctuary. Though trials come, I walk surrounded by divine calm. You do not have to understand the storm. You only need to abide in the peace that surpasses all understanding. Beloved, the third sign that God is protecting you from something unseen lies in the mysterious arrival of unexpected provision. Moments when help, resources, or insight appear just in time, seemingly from nowhere, to turn the tide. These moments are not coincidences or luck. They are divine orchestration made manifest. The universe conspires for you in silence, preparing a path you cannot yet perceive. Often, divine protection involves perfect timing, not earlier than you are ready, not later than you can bear. Miracles do not rush. They unfold with precision. You may have prayed for deliverance, and yet the answer seems delayed. But know that delay is a sacred preparation, a divine gestation where the circumstances align, the energies converge, and the soul is readied for what is to come. In sacred scriptures and the lives of saints, we see countless examples of this. A well appears in the desert just as water runs dry. A stranger arrives with guidance moments before despair would overwhelm. Doors open when all hope seems lost. These are the fingerprints of the divine's protective hand. Guiding without forcing, loving without overwhelming, supporting without invading. Your task is to trust this timing, even when the outcome remains hidden. To say, I do not see the road ahead, but I trust the footsteps that guide me. Provision will come, not before I am ready, but exactly when I need it. God's timing is perfect, and I rest in this truth. When you practice this trust, you release the illusion of control and step into the flow of grace. You open the door for miracles to enter, not as explosions, but as gentle waves that carry you onward. Reflect now. Where has divine provision come just in time in my life? How might what I perceive as delay be a sacred pause? Am I ready to receive what God is preparing? You are protected not by chance, but by perfect timing. And that timing is your invitation to faith. Beloved, to truly receive the protection of God, you must not only recognize the signs, you must embody them. Spiritual confidence is the armor that shields the soul from doubt and fear. It is the steady knowing that even when the path is hidden, you are guarded by a presence that never fails, a light that never dims. This confidence arises not from what you see, but from what you feel in the depths of your being. It is a vibration, a certainty that you are cradled in divine arms, that no harm can touch the soul who trusts. When you carry this confidence, your aura becomes a fortress. Your breath becomes a prayer. Your walk becomes a declaration. Speak with me now. I am guarded by divine light even when I cannot see it. I walk with fearless trust despite uncertainty. My soul is surrounded by love that transcends all trials. Visualize yourself clothed in radiant light, a garment woven from the very breath of God. This light shields you from harm and draws to you only what is in harmony with your highest good. Your magnetism shifts. The old fears dissolve. The soul rises above the shadows. Confidence in divine protection is not arrogance. It is humble strength, the strength of one who knows that life's storms cannot extinguish the eternal flame within. It is the courage to rest in God's care, to surrender without losing power, to trust without needing proof. Feel this now in your body. Let the breath steady, let the heart expand, let the mind quiet. Know you are safe, not because the world is safe, but because the divine is your refuge. Say within, I am a child of the light, and no darkness can claim me. I carry the shield of faith and the sword of surrender. This is your spiritual inheritance. This is your birthright. Beloved soul, protection is not a one-time gift, but a daily cultivation, a sacred garden that must be tended with care and devotion. To live embraced by divine care, you must build an awareness that stretches beyond fear and embraces trust, presence, and sacred vigilance. Begin each morning with a quiet affirmation. Before the rush of the world, sit in stillness and breathe deeply. Place your hands over your heart and say within, I am held by love. I am guarded by light. Let these words settle into your cells like a balm, like a fortress of peace. Throughout the day, pause often. In moments of doubt or fear, return to your breath. Inhale deeply through the spiritual eye, between the eyebrows, and exhale, releasing anxiety. Whisper softly, God surrounds me. I walk protected. Keep a journal of moments when you sense divine guidance or protection. These subtle signs, an unexpected word, a timely meeting, a feeling of calm, are threads in the fabric of your divine shield. Writing them anchors your awareness and trains your soul to recognize protection in all forms. Practice soft vigilance. This is not anxiety but gentle attention, a knowing that you are accompanied by the unseen. You do not need to control outcomes, only to remember who walks with you. Say now, I am awake to divine care. I cultivate presence as my protection. Each breath deepens my trust. Daily inner bravery is the soil in which miracles grow. Tend it lovingly. Now, beloved, let us close this sacred transmission with a final breath ritual. A prayer not just of words, but of surrender and trust. When fear whispers and the mind races, return to the breath. Let it be the bridge from worry to peace, from anxiety to divine embrace. Sit quietly or lie down. Place your hand gently over your heart. Breathe deeply through the nose, feeling the cool air fill your being. As you inhale, silently say, I release all worry. Exhale slowly through the mouth or nose, whispering, I accept divine care. Breathe again. Inhale, I am held. Exhale, I am safe. Let this rhythm continue, slow and steady. Feel your body soften, your mind quiet, your heart expand. In this sacred surrender, you invite the invisible arms of God to enfold you. Say now with conviction, I trust the unseen hand that guides me. I let go of fear and receive grace. I walk in the light of divine protection. And when your breath becomes still, rest in this presence. Know that even in darkness, you are not alone. The divine watches over you, protects you, and moves in your favor, even when you cannot see. I invite you now to write below this message, as a sacred vow to your soul. I trust the unseen hand that guides me. Let these words be your seal, your shield, your covenant. May your days be illuminated, your nights be guarded, and your soul be forever at peace. And Om Shanti. Peace be with you.
Beloved soul, you have waited so long to hear the voice of God. You have cried in silence. You have prayed through your pain. You have looked into the night sky and whispered, Are you there? Do you hear me? But I tell you with the authority of inner vision, God has never stopped speaking. He speaks even now, not in the language of the world, not in the thunder of command or the clamor of logic, but in the soft, radiant frequency of the soul. He speaks in stillness. He speaks in vibration. He speaks in the sacred intimacy that words cannot reach. If you are waiting to hear God's voice with your ears, you may wait a long while. But if you begin to listen with your soul, with that inner ear which has been deafened by doubt and noise, then suddenly you will hear what has always been there. You will begin to notice that behind every event, beneath every longing, within every breath, there is a whisper, a tug, a warmth, a divine pull that is not yours alone but the infinite reaching into your finite. Oh, how tender is that voice, not loud like the voice of men, not forceful like the demands of the ego. It is subtle, like sunlight on water, like a breeze through leaves, like the silent falling of a tear when the heart is too full for speech. That is how God speaks. And if your soul is calm enough, empty enough, surrendered enough, you will know it not by sound, but by recognition. You will say, Ah, it is you. I knew it. Many say to me, Master, I pray, but I hear nothing. And I say to them, God is not silent. You are surrounded by static. You cannot hear the whisper of spirit if your mind is clanging with desire. You cannot feel his nearness if your heart is armored with anxiety. It is not that he has gone anywhere, it is that you have turned away, again and again, from the place he waits, the stillness at the center of your being. God is not found in the scroll of the phone, in the noise of endless activity. He is found in the pause between thoughts, in the surrender after the prayer, in the sacred space you make for him each morning, not out of duty, but out of love. And so I ask you, have you truly made room for him to speak? Or have you only shouted into the heavens, expecting an answer to thunder down through the clouds? Let me offer you a truth. The longing you feel to hear God is not a one-sided desire. That longing is his voice. It is his breath in your chest, his spark in your spine, his memory stirring in the depths of your soul. When you ache for him, it is because he is calling. The ache is the call. The thirst is the message. You are not seeking him alone. He is seeking you. And if you understood how close he stands to you now, you would fall to your knees in awe and weep with joy. So let us pause just now and open that sacred channel. Close your eyes, not in sleep, but in reverence. Let the world recede. Let the breath draw in slowly. Inhale, not just air, but divine presence. And exhale, releasing thought, tension, expectation. Now ask, not with words, but with stillness. Beloved, I am here. Speak to me. And then wait, not as one begging, but as one already heard. Now that you have turned inward, now that you have tasted even a moment of sacred stillness, let me speak to you of a divine law that governs all communication between your soul and God, the law of spiritual reception. Just as no radio can play music unless it is tuned to the right frequency, so the soul must become inwardly attuned to the subtle vibrations of spirit. The infinite is always transmitting, always radiating love, wisdom, and guidance. But if your inner receiver is clogged with the static of worldly distraction, you will miss the message every time. God does not scream. He does not argue. He does not need to prove his voice above the rest. Instead, he waits in silence. He surrounds you with signs, with subtle nudges, with divine repetitions. And when your consciousness is still, when your breath is calm and your devotion sincere, you begin to receive, not with your mind, but with your being. You do not analyze what God says. You absorb it. You know it. It arrives not as thought, but as vibration, a peaceful knowing, a holy clarity. This is why those who try to command God, or test him, or demand loud answers, leave disappointed. The divine cannot be summoned by force. He responds to resonance. He comes when your heart is open, humble, receptive. Just as a flower opens in the presence of the sun, your soul must open in the presence of surrender. Not my will, Lord, but thine. Not my fear, but thy peace. Not my need to be answered, but my need to be one with thee. Let me offer you a picture. Imagine standing by a still lake. If the surface is calm, you can see the reflection of the sky. But if the surface is disturbed, the image is broken. So it is with your soul. When your inner stillness is maintained, through meditation, breath, surrender, you begin to perceive God's voice reflected in your intuition, in your peace, in your spontaneous wisdom. But when the surface of your mind is turbulent with doubt or desire, the reflection disappears. You must understand that the voice of God is not an external voice. It is not an alien sound that enters your ear from outside. It is a sacred resonance that rises within. And that is why it is so easily missed, for we are taught to look outward, to listen outward. But God speaks inwardly. He speaks through sudden clarity, through loving stillness, through a mysterious assurance that does not need explanation. It is felt, not argued. And so I ask you now, when last did you enter stillness not to get something from God, but to simply be with him? This is the posture of true reception. Not grasping, not pleading, but resting, trusting, surrendering into divine presence and letting that presence teach you directly. Let us breathe now, gently. Inhale and feel as though your heart is a sacred instrument being tuned. Exhale and release all demand, all noise. Whisper inwardly, I do not need to hear with ears. I receive with my soul. For it is through stillness, not effort, that God's voice becomes clear. He is not hiding. He is not far. You need only listen. differently. Let me now show you one of the most misunderstood ways in which God speaks to his children. Disruption. When your carefully arranged plans begin to unravel, when your routines are interrupted, when the path you thought was certain suddenly breaks apart beneath your feet, the ego says, something has gone wrong. But I say to you, beloved, what if this is God's voice? What if this disruption is not destruction, but divine instruction? You must understand, God is not concerned with your comfort. He is concerned with your liberation. And the ego builds its comfort upon illusions, jobs that numb the soul, relationships that replace the divine beloved, ambitions that crowd out silence. And so, in his mercy, God intervenes. He begins to interrupt you, not out of punishment, but out of longing. He loves you too much to let you drift further into forgetfulness, and thus he speaks by shaking you. Have you not noticed how often spiritual awakening begins with loss? The job that vanished, the friend who left, the dream that collapsed. These are not signs that God has abandoned you. They are signs that he is reordering your life from the inside out. That which is not aligned with your soul's highest calling must be cleared, no matter how tightly you cling, for God will not share your heart with illusion. When he knocks, it is not always gentle, but it is always loving. Let me share a truth. God will allow you to be emptied before he fills you. He will allow what is false to fall away before he reveals what is true. Do not curse the interruption. It is sacred. It is a holy pause, a divine reset. And if you learn to recognize it, not resist it, you will begin to hear the voice within the chaos. A quiet invitation. Come closer. Let me guide you now. Sometimes he will remove a path not because it is evil, but because it is not yours. Sometimes he will shut a door, not because he is angry, but because he knows what lies behind it will delay your return to him. You must trust that when the foundation shakes, it is not to make you fall. It is to reveal that you had built your house on sand. And now, by divine mercy, you are being invited to rebuild it on the rock of inner communion. There is a parable I cherish. A shepherd, when a lamb runs astray again and again, may gently break its leg, not out of cruelty, but so the lamb will remain close to his heart as it heals. He carries it upon his shoulders, and the lamb learns not only to follow, but to love the voice of the shepherd. Such are the disruptions of God. He wounds only to draw you nearer. So if you find yourself in a season of uncertainty, if the ground beneath you has shifted, if the things you once relied upon have vanished, pause, breathe, and instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is God trying to say through this? You will find that hidden inside every disruption is a divine whisper. I am here. I am real. I want you to follow me now. Let us breathe together. Inhale and feel the trembling within you. Exhale and release your resistance. Say inwardly, I will not fight the disruption. I will follow the voice within it. For it is often through the cracking of the shell that the soul is finally born. Now, dear soul, let us listen again, not to the noise of chance, but to the mysterious rhythm of divine repetition. If the first sign of God's voice is disruption, then the second is gentler, more subtle, but no less sacred. Repetition. Have you noticed how a certain word keeps returning to you? How the same message follows you through different mouths, different places, different forms? That is not coincidence. That is a whisper. That is the signature of God, repeating himself until your soul finally turns and says, Speak, Lord, I am listening. God does not always shout. Sometimes he simply repeats. He places the same truth before you again and again because you are too distracted to see it the first time, and so he plants it in a friend's conversation. He embeds it in a song. He brings it back in a dream. He etches it into your quiet moments when no one else is around. This is the patterned whisper, the divine echo that says, Child, you have heard this before. Will you listen now? I remember in the silence of deep meditation, I would hear a phrase arise from the stillness, not as thought, but as knowing. Then later that day, a disciple would say that same phrase aloud. Later still, I would open a scripture, and there it was again. Each time I bowed, not to the man, not to the book, but to the presence that had spoken thrice. I knew the divine was confirming the message, and so I received it, not with the ego's pride, but with the soul's reverence. When something returns to you, not once, not twice, but 3 or 4 times, it is no longer mere suggestion. It is invitation. Pay attention. Is there a scripture you keep encountering? A teaching you resist but cannot escape? A person who keeps appearing just when your heart needs clarity? These are not accidents. They are alignments. They are divine fingerprints, and they must not be ignored. But repetition is not only outer, it happens within as well. Have you felt that one truth you cannot shake? That inner nudge that returns in your quietest moments? That is God's voice through conviction. He will not compel you, but He will return until you are ready. Again and again He says, turn inward. Again and again He says, let this go. Again and again He says, I am here. This is not nagging, this is grace. For how many times have we ignored the first whisper, and yet the divine returns, not in anger, but in endless compassion. He repeats the invitation until we finally soften, surrender, obey. This is the mercy of the infinite. He will come back to the same doorstep as long as love guides His footsteps. Do not think, beloved, that your mind is simply fixated. It may be that your soul is being awakened. And what the soul needs to remember, God will allow to echo. These echoes are not empty. They are filled with presence. Let us pause now. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply. Let your mind fall silent. And ask, what truth keeps returning to me? Do not analyze. Just feel. Just receive. There is something God has been saying again and again. Will you finally listen? Say it now, as a vow. I will honor the pattern. I will recognize the repetition. I will listen to the echo and follow its source. For the whisper that repeats is not noise. It is the voice of God drawing nearer. Now, my beloved, let us approach the most sacred and often overlooked of all divine signs, the stillness. If you have been waiting for words, if you have hoped for signs written in the sky, for voices to rise from the clouds, let me tell you this secret. The clearest voice of God is not thunder. It is silence. It is not motion. It is stillness. When all noise falls away and you find yourself in a sacred quietness that you did not create, that you did not expect, that is not absence, that is presence, that is God. There comes a moment in the life of every sincere seeker when, after the prayers have been spoken, after the striving has ceased, after the mind has surrendered its last demand, there remains only stillness, and in that moment, many become afraid. They say, why is there nothing? Where is the answer? But, oh dear soul, do not flee that silence, for within it, the infinite is speaking, not in sound, but in being. His presence is not always felt in words, but in the radiant hush that descends when the soul is ready. Have you ever sat in meditation and suddenly become aware that everything had grown still? That the breath was quiet, the heart calm, the mind subdued, and yet you felt alive? That was not emptiness. That was God. He had entered, not with proclamation, but with presence. He had lit the inner lamp, the silent flame that burns without wind. It does not flicker, it does not cry out, but it glows. And in that glow, the soul knows. I am not alone. I am not forgotten. I am home. This sacred stillness is not merely the absence of noise, it is the presence of divinity. It is the condition of pure awareness, untouched by thought, unshaken by desire. And when it comes, you must honor it. You must sit as before a king, not speaking, not moving, not even seeking, but simply being. For in that being, God and soul are one. I have sat for hours in that stillness. I have walked through gardens, through cities, through trials, with that stillness burning in my spine. It is the breathless calm that knows, thou art here. And when you begin to feel that stillness even amid movement, even amid life's turns, then you are beginning to live in constant communion. The world will tell you that silence is emptiness, but I tell you, silence is fullness. The world will say that stillness is inactivity, but I say, stillness is supreme activity. It is the presence of the Creator within the created. So the next time you feel a sudden peace descend upon you, a silence that feels holy, do not dismiss it. Do not rush to fill it with thought or speech. Bow to it. That is God's way of saying, I am here. I am enough. Let us breathe now, slowly. Inhale the silence, exhale the noise, and say inwardly, I will not fear the stillness. I will meet God there. For where the noise ends, the divine begins. My beloved, now let me dispel a shadow that has lingered in your heart perhaps for many years, the false idea that you are not worthy to hear the voice of God, that his voice belongs only to saints, prophets, or great yogis, that you must be perfect or advanced, or somehow chosen to be worthy of divine communion. This is not true. This is Maya's last defense, to convince you that the door is locked when it has been open all along. God does not reserve his presence for a few. He made your soul as a living receiver. You were designed to hear him. You must understand this. You are not a beggar knocking at the gates of heaven. You are a child of the infinite, born from light, sustained by light, and destined to return to that light. The ability to hear God is not a spiritual talent. It is your birthright. The divine voice may be faint now, yes, obscured by lifetimes of distraction, but it is there. It is always there, and the more you surrender, the more you listen, the more you quiet your heart, the clearer it becomes. You are capable of hearing God, not through effort, but through stillness, not through shouting, but through reverence. Begin not with doubt, but with this affirmation. God is not hiding. I am awakening. Say it again, slowly, and feel its truth settle into your bones. I am ready. I was born ready. I was made for this. Do not compare yourself with others. Each soul awakens at its appointed hour. The difference between the saint and the seeker is not distance from God, but depth of attention. You can begin today, now, in this breath. The divine voice does not come because of your perfection. It comes because of your sincerity. Let us anchor this truth now. Sit tall, inhale gently. Place your awareness at the spiritual eye, the point between the eyebrows. Feel your breath rising, carrying with it the willingness to receive. Exhale, releasing all doubt. Say within, God is near. I am listening. This is not hope. This is truth. You are capable. You are ready. The divine is already speaking through the stillness inside you. Beloved soul, divine communication is not reserved for sacred temples or dramatic revelations. It is born in rhythm. Just as the sun rises and sets, just as the breath flows in and out, your soul must establish a rhythm of listening, a daily ritual of spiritual receptivity. Without this rhythm, divine messages may come, but they will not be received. The body needs rest, the mind needs focus, and the soul, yes, the soul needs its hour of remembrance. Let me guide you in the ancient, simple ways that open the channel to God. In the evening, before you sleep, do not let your thoughts be filled with the world's residue. Sit in silence, even for 5 minutes. Withdraw your attention from the body. Place your gaze at the spiritual eye, the seat of intuition, the gateway between human limitation and divine perception. Say nothing. Ask nothing. Just listen. Be. This is the sacred posture of the soul that remembers how to receive. In the morning, before the demands of the world call your name, whisper one phrase with the whole sincerity of your being. Speak, Lord, I am listening. Then sit in stillness again. Do not rush. Do not measure. Just be present. The voice of God will not always come in words, but you will feel the clarity, the peace, the guidance rise within you like a sunrise behind closed eyes. And throughout the day, carry a small journal, not as a diary of complaints, but as a sacred record of divine echoes. Write what stands out, the phrase that pierced you, the dream that lingered, the image that returned again and again. Track the repetition, honor the disruption, remember the stillness, and soon you will see the divine pattern form. You will see that God has been speaking to you all along. Think of yourself as a temple. Each morning you sweep the floor. Each night you light the lamp. Not because he is not present, but because your devotion awakens your awareness of his presence. The divine guest comes where he is welcomed, not by formality, but by love. Say this with me now. Each day I prepare a place for thee. Each night I listen in sacred silence. I am no longer waiting. I am receiving. This is the ritual. This is the rhythm. This is the soul remembering how to hear. And now, dear soul, we seal this sacred knowing with one final breath of remembrance. You have searched. You have prayed. You have doubted and hoped, feared and longed. But I tell you now, as one who has touched the feet of the infinite, he is already with you. He has always been with you. Not one moment has passed when he did not surround you, fill you, call to you. You were never abandoned. You were simply asleep. God does not speak as the world speaks. His words are not composed of syllables and sound, but of vibration, light, stillness, presence. He speaks through the break in your plans, through the message you keep hearing, through the silence that falls like peace into your chest. He speaks through longing, through tears, through quiet joy. But above all, he speaks through love. And that love is within you now. Do not wait for a sign. You are the sign. Do not wait for a voice from the clouds. He already lives in your breath. Do not search outside yourself for what was planted in your soul before time began. Say it with me now, as a vow, a declaration, a spiritual decree. God has been speaking. Now I will listen. Write it, speak it, live it. Let this be your new beginning. The voice of God is not a mystery. It is your inheritance. And it is waiting now, in this breath.